Hey guys, a little housekeeping before we start the show. We recorded this show back in December for an early January release. Obviously, we did not make that timeline. Christmas holidays, family stuff, new baby, and I'm super late. So sit back and enjoy the show. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to the Geeks of the North, a hobby gaming podcast in La Belle Province. This week I'm here with the gang and we're talking to Mark Maxey about painting those chibis. So why don't you sit back, relax, grab a paintbrush, and enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Geeks of the North. As always, I'm your host, Paul Fillion, here with my co-host, Antoine Bergeron.
Hello.
And Yomna Meshin.
Hello, everybody.
I'd like to take this moment to welcome everyone back from the holidays. I hope you all had a great time, didn't drink too much or party too hard. But if you did, I hope you recovered safely.
Yeah, I hope you were still alive.
Well, if you're not still alive and you're listening to the show,
we want to have you on the show. It should be really interesting.
We have more reach than we thought.
Yeah, exactly. We reached the afterlife.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Okay. And see, Antoine, we were worried about rambling going off topic. There we go. All right. So we have a pretty cool guest on the show later on. Mark Maxey of Max Paint fame. He is best known for his love of chibis and his hobby hangouts that he holds every Wednesday. So we're going to be interviewing him. But before that, we have to get through all the regular junk, and that means we have to listen to Yom talk for 45 minutes about what he's done. I'm just poking at you, Yo.
Yeah, no, I have to.
I've seen the list. I see it's short. It's all good. I know. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some sleep tonight. It's all
exception
good.
This time.
Yeah.
Resolution for the new year. Taking it easy on Paul.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So first, we're gonna start with our hobby time and our games. And as always, I'm gonna lead the pack. So I haven't done a lot of hobby lately, but I did a little bit the last 2 days, and I've been fairly successful at hobby. So I painted a Grolar and a Juggernaut for my War Machine Khador army. And I did that because I played a game with them, which I'll get to in a second, this week, and they were unpainted, and it bothered me the whole game. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to use these guys in the list, I have to get them done. So I painted those up. And because I had those colors out, and they're the same colors that my AdMech army is for 30k and 40k, I painted 6 more of the little combat servitors. The Johnny Fives, as I affectionately call them. So I got those out of the way. We're mostly done. I got the little bit of flesh tones to paint on them and do their washes. And paint gold trim. But that shouldn't take more than a couple hours. And I also worked on my Thanatar robots. I think I mentioned last show that I'd started painting. Well, I did some more work on those. Those are nearing completion. And last but not least, I pulled out my Super Dungeon Explorer that I bought 3 years ago. I've never touched. I assembled everything, and then I even bought the Battle Foam foam insert for the box. I inserted everything into the foam and then put it back on the shelf and haven't touched it since. So I took it out this weekend to look at it because I realized that I have nieces and nephews, 4 of them conveniently, and I seem to recall this game as a 4-player versus a console.
Did you realize during the old days that you
5.
had nieces and nephews?
Well, I realized that this is actually maybe something I could play with them. As it's going to make me sound like an old man, but when they were little kids, I was really, really close to them. And a couple of these are my godchildren. And I was like the favorite cool uncle, right? But as I've gotten older, they're less interested in hanging out with me and doing stuff with me. So I don't know if it's because I've got a kid of my own now, or because I'm getting older, but I'm trying to find more ways to engage them and do stuff with them. So I thought, you know what if I bring a board game, play that with them, that something interesting. They all play video games.
You just want a reason not to hang out with the older people.
Yeah, pretty much that too. Because hanging out with my siblings is rough. But it's funny because my nieces and nephews, the youngest is, I think he's 11, possibly 12 now, but the eldest is going to be 22. So it's still a pretty big age spread there. And nearly 20 years between myself and her. So. Anyway, I thought SD might be a good fun thing to paint. So I started looking at it, how could I speed paint the monsters? The heroes I'll spend more time on. But the rank and file bad guys, I figured, okay, well, I want to churn these guys out. So I started looking at them and how I'm going to paint them up quickly.
Yeah, there are so many kobolds, you can't speed them.
Yeah, and I think with an airbrush and a little bit, good planning, I could churn them out at a fairly quick rate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I also started looking, actually, I forgot about this, it's not in the doc, but I looked at my, what is that game? Space Hulk. Because I wanted to take Space Hulk out and paint that all up. I assembled it a while ago, and I thought I'd give them a good quick paint job. I mean, the Terminators I'll have to paint more details on, but the NIDs themselves I think will paint pretty quickly with the airbrush. To a good tabletop board game standard.
You have big projects. 2 board games.
Well, yeah. I don't really want to play a board game without painted miniatures. It takes something away from it. So I just want to get it done so I can enjoy the game and not feel guilty every time I look at it. All right. So that's been it for my hobby. So like I said, I've been fairly productive last week or so since we recorded last. I'm pretty impressed. And then for games, I managed to get 2 games in, one of which I will let Antoine talk about. But I played a game of War Machine against our buddy Dan, who owns Gamers Vault. And it was a 75-point Khador versus Circle. I was playing a Butcher list. Pretty punchy. Not very few tricks, though, and nothing in the way of control. And he was playing Cassius, which is all about the tricks and control. And it was brutal for me. War Machine, I generally find to be a fairly quick game. Not in terms of time it takes to play, but I find it can be... It's a very fast-paced game. Stuff is changing, stuff is happening. You always got to pay attention to the table. I found playing against Cassius was a pretty rough grind.
Cassius is one of the worst. Well, not Cassius, Wormwood is one of the worst casters you can face in terms of that. So it's... I'm kind of sad for you that you rarely play, and the one time you do, you have to face Cassius.
Yeah, it was a little rough. Cassius, he also had Wrong Eye and Snapjaw, so Star-Crossed, which is the reverse sign's importance. So you roll an extra die and drop the highest die. And you take your 2 lowest dice.
We're playing on a really heavy terrain table too.
Yeah.
So all things added together makes for maybe a painful experience.
A less than enjoyable game.
Well, it is what it is. It lasted... Well, maybe I'm mistaken. I thought it only lasted to the top of turn 3. It must be the top of turn 4. Because he got 5 points. So he started scoring immediately on turn 2. And who went first? I went first. So bottom of turn 2, top of turn 3, bottom of turn 3. Yeah, and then it was top of turn 4. And top of turn 4 I gave up because there was no way I could get his 2 guys off. He was going to score 2 points and then he was going to win. So it was a rough game. It was a rough game. I don't have... That list has no way of really dealing with people like Cassius. They just lock down the board too well. Anyway. All in all, it was a good game. Still looking forward to playing more War Machine. Just maybe not against that guy. We'll have to see what happens in the errata.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played some Roots of Magic with Antoine. And I won't really go into it. I'll probably chime in when Antoine talks. But great little game is all I'll say. And that's it for me. So, Antoine, why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, my list is shorter than yours. I haven't done much. Like you mentioned, you only worked maybe a couple of nights on your stuff. I did the same, but was less productive. So all I was able to do is work on my bases for Pulp City. I did formal in the past month to a fairly cool standard, I think, with custom bases. And I told myself that I might as well do all the bases at the same time with all the press molding and custom work on them. So I have something like 12 or 15 bases I'm working on right now. They're about halfway done.
Can I drop a like on this? No. It's like it on Facebook. Like I will drop a like on this statement. Doing all your base at first.
Yeah. I rarely do big custom bases project like that, so it makes more sense doing it at the same time, especially as like everything is putty and in steps, so I might as well do more because I'll over mix my putty anyway. So I even got base for other stuff that I'm working at the same time because I always mix too much putty and what I have left go on the other projects.
Oh, that's a good use of
good
use of material.
I did that and started cleaning the models that will. Well, the first part of the model, I'll work on probably 4 or 5 guys and do them in waves, intermixed with the other project. Like I'll do them, but after that, I need to finish my butchers. I have 2 models that are halfway done, and I've been in that state for I think 2 months, so they need to be done. But that's it. That's all I did. Work-wise, we've recorded so many times in the last 2 weeks, and
I know. I think we recorded more in the last 2 weeks than we have in the last 6 months.
Yeah, maybe. And on top of that, I had to work a couple of nights, and with the stuff at home, there just wasn't time for hobby. So not much, but I'm happy with what's done, and I'm taking picture to do a small tutorial on my blog. So it takes a bit more time.
You also have to deal with newfound celebrity, not that you are doing covers of magazines.
Yeah, that's not a lot to work around, I must say. I haven't been stopped on the street yet. For people wondering, my job is producing a magazine, and for the December edition, they wanted someone from the team on it because we're doing a Christmas gift present for the kids or stuff like that, and they wanted one member on the cover, and I was the second choice. The first choice decided to turn down the offer, so it was me and my kids on it. That's why you don't miss mentioning that.
It's a very nice photo too.
Oh yeah. The picture is cool. I'll try to get a copy of it without all the text and cover stuff. Just the picture itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for my hobby. On the game side, I had 2 games, and I'm finally in my indie game streak. So no Guild Ball this time. It's the first for some months now. And instead, I have my first game of Pulp City. Played that with Mark Caron, a local player here. I was using my newly painted monkeys of the Ark against his heavy metal. So we played, I think, 3 turns. Games will go up to 4, but it was getting late, so Mark gave up. But it was a pretty tight game, and I must say I love the system. The different way you can activate your models. You don't have different resource. No, that's not true. You do have different resources. Yeah, you have your action points, and you have also your fatigue level for your movement. Mm-hmm. But contrary to most other alternate activation, you can activate the same model more than once. You don't need to do everything your model is able to do during its activation. You just need to do something.
Okay.
So you can use some of your movement and use fatigue levels. You can do some actions. In fact, you can do one action and one. They have some what they call combinable actions, like smaller actions that give a bonus or something like that. So you can do one move, two move, or a move and a regular action, or only an action, or a pass, which use up points anyway. And it works like Guild Ball. You have a pool of action points for your team. So you pass and go with the other player, but you don't activate one model and it's done. So you can move him up and not use actions at all. And after that, when you see what the opponent did, you can counteract with some action points or move him again if you want, because everybody has 2 movement points. And some special models even do have 3 movement fatigue levels, so they can move 3 times. So lots of interaction, lots of possibility. The rules are simple, but there's a lot of depth in how you play. So I really, really liked it. I'm looking forward. That's why I'm working on all my other monkeys to be able to play bigger games now and play soon.
All the monkeys.
Yeah. The other game Paul already mentioned was The Roots of Magic. This was on Kickstarter in late November and early December. They successfully funded, and while the Kickstarter was going, I got interested into it. I already had seen the game before, but I haven't tried it, and must be honest, I hadn't seen the models by that time, but seeing the model I think when the Kickstarter was announced, all the first wave was already funded. The guy self-funded them, so he got models for the 8 house, 1 model each, 1 wizard. Rules of Magic is a wizard duel game, so if you think like the Gandalf versus Saruman in the Orthanc, when they have a big magical clash, it's about the same thing. So you get 2 wizards fighting each other, and hopefully in the future some acolytes and other sellswords or mercenaries they will have with them. So right now it's 1 versus 1, but it will probably go to 3 to 6 models, something like that. So the Kickstarter was for their acolytes, so the second model for every house, and we tried that with Paul last week. We were playing the basic game with the 1 wizard versus 1 wizard, and it was fun. It's pretty. The rule book is big and complex, but the game is simple.
Yeah, the game's really well streamlined.
Yeah, so
it's
the
like
rules
they
are
overbuilt
just
the rules.
Yeah, they overbuilt, and they are also future built. There's a lot of stuff for what he plans to do, and not what's already there. So
okay.
A lot of it you are reading and you probably won't use, or some stuff he just build them like with a competitive mindset, and to be sure every exception is there and padded. So the people won't have a question like, if something arises, a situation arises in a game, it will be covered. So which means the rules are a bit longer. But
if you join now,
it's simple.
The learning curve is not too steep right now.
No.
No. The learning curve is very, very easy going.
Cool.
They are written complexly, but they are not complex to use.
Yeah, they're very verbose. Thanks, Antoine.
Yeah, verbose. Yeah, that's exactly the right word.
The rules are extremely meticulous and like meticulously written, and very detailed, so that there can be no interpretation issues. But that makes every rule kind of long and cumbersome to read.
Okay.
End result is once you've read them and understand them, it's fine. It's just looking at it can be kind of daunting. When you get a special rule list that's like 2 pages or whatever, like 8.5 by 11, print on both sides, it can be kind of scary. But most of it just makes sense, and it's but again, to keep to keep things flowing, to keep people from asking too many questions. They just write everything out for you.
But on the table, it goes well. And we played with Amara and Zen, two of the models, two of the wizard. And the scenario was there's an orb in the middle of the magic circle, the dual circle, and we must go around and try to activate, interact with the orb to generate scenario points while your opponent is doing the same thing. So lots of movement, and also the way you generate your action points in the game is based on nodes that are on the field. So you need to stay in the middle of the board anyway, because if you don't, you won't have enough magic points generated from the nodes. So you won't do much.
It affects your resource generation.
Yes, a lot.
Okay.
So if you move too far away from these magic nodes, well, then you start generating less resources, which means you can do less actions in your turn as opposed to your opponent if they stay near one of the nodes. So there's a lot of tactical depth to the game without it being like immensely complex or having a ton of models. I was really dubious about the game. I'm like, what fun is a 1v1 miniature game going to be? But I was pleasantly surprised that the scenario was written with that idea in mind, right? So, and it does feel like a wizard duel. Yes, we're trying to interact with this orb, and the orb you can actually, when you interact with it, it jumps away from you. So if you aim it correctly, you can actually hit your opponent with it and score points that way. Right?
That's how Paul ended the game.
Yeah. Okay. But Antoine had me almost dead. I was down to 1 health point.
Yes.
Because at one point I was running away with the ball and basically trying to keep away from him while interacting with it and scoring points.
And I had longer range spells, so I was just trying to damage him while he was trying to run with the scenario.
Yeah. And I was like debuffing Antoine, trying to keep him from getting to the ball, or well, we keep saying the ball, but it's not a ball, it's the orb or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a surprisingly in-depth game, and it had a lot of tactical options, and your characters have a lot of abilities. It makes me think of Malifaux. Like you're right up for your wizard. You've got like 8 abilities usually. That's what it seemed to be anyway.
Yeah,
is it customizable? Or
no, not right now. Okay. He mentioned that he might have some customizability. There is one thing we didn't play with. There is artifacts. There are artifacts that you can buy
which add more abilities.
So that's the only customization part you have. But we haven't played with that. So like small magic items or stuff like that you can add to your models. But all the models are already characters with histories and already built powers. But like Paul mentioned, there is a lot of option. But when you generate your action points, you could go up to, I think, what was your max? Something like 7, and I think mine was 10 or 12.
Yeah, I had 7, I think.
Yeah, so if you stack up and keep them from turn to turn, you have a lot of power points. However, you cannot use the same ability or same attack twice in the same turn. So it's a good thing you have a lot of options on your card. I think I had 4 attacks and 5 abilities, so like 9 different options to use to shoot from. And some are just the same thing, but with more powerful and cost more action points or different range, but there are completely different things. Like I had a teleport spell for myself, but also a swap spell, so I could switch to model place on the board. That's the only way I was able to get Paul away from the orb. The orb. Switching with him.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I like the ending of your game because I like the cinematic of it. Like you're trying to get the orb is trying to get away from you, but then it just like throw it at you to win the game. Like,
I got too close and bang in my face.
Yeah, and I had just enough resources saved up from the previous turn that I could complete that action. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And Anton would have zapped me and killed me on his next turn.
That's so management.
I like that. Yeah, it came down to like the wire, because I had to like move 3 times and teleport.
Just
cast
to
my
get
teleportation
there,
spell just to get to the ball. And I didn't have enough left to interact with it twice, because you have to interact with it twice in the same turn to get a point.
Except if you push it in the opponent wizard, then you score.
Because if you hit the wizard with it, you interact with it once, and then you hitting the opponent wizard counts as your second interaction. So it was lucky I just lined it up right.
Yeah, it was
a very cool game.
And it was quick. I think with me explaining the rules minutes. And everything, it took 45 minutes.
Yeah, it plays on a 2x2.
Cool.
Yep.
I get to pull out my secret weapon tablescapes that I've never used before, played on a little 2x2 with some terrain.
I see the game taking half an hour max when you know it.
It's like lunchtime duel.
Yeah, and adding acolytes, like the new models that will be out with the Kickstarter, I think won't add that much. It will go maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah, it just depends on the scenarios.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what other scenarios are.
Yeah, there are 3 or 4 right now. 2 in the book I had yesterday, but there are. He mentioned more on the Kickstarter, especially to play with the acolytes, the multi-model games.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep.
Would do again.
Oh yeah, for
would
sure.
recommend. Would do again.
You make it sound really interesting. I have to say.
It was surprising. It shocked me. I'll be honest. I was playing this game because Antoine wanted to play it.
To make Antoine happy.
I had zero interest in trying the game. But I'm like, Antoine's at my house. We're hanging out. What the hell? I'll play this. And he started reading, explaining the model stat card to me. And I was like, okay, this sounds kind of interesting. I've got some resource management. I've got some potential. Looking at the spells. Okay, I'm like a control caster. So I could see, well, I'm a control caster, but then Antoine was playing basically a blaster damage dealer who also had some teleportation abilities.
Yeah, lots of movement and damage.
Yeah. So the game will vary quite a bit depending on what characters you play.
Yes. It changes.
And the feel, the same scenario, the feel of it will change every time. So it was, it's worth checking out, Yom. I think you'd like it.
Yeah, maybe I can join the pledge manager when Tonio gets to it. But the problem is, even though the models look great, the best looking one is Amara, and Antoine already has it.
Yeah, but I got it mostly just to... I got 2 of the models just to see the quality, because they look great, and I wanted to know if they work great. And I own 2. I own the 2 we played with, Amara and Zant, and they are fantastic models. So, and I'm interested in a lot of them, so I'll just sell you the Amara I got. And,
I'll just Amara when I will play against you.
Yeah, or sit it. But well, that way you can paint her. And I think she's an interesting one to paint. So.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll just sell it to you and get another one. There's already 2 or 3 I was thinking of getting with the pledge manager anyway. So if I could get you to play, I'll let you play her. That's for sure.
Might be easier than you think then.
Yeah, it made me think of in that same style of game that Frostgrave is, where it's got the depth, but it's also rules light. I think
it's interesting to say rules light when the rule book is so thick.
Yeah, but it's not. The rule book is thick, but there's not a lot to the rules, right? The basic mechanics were pretty.
The mechanics are simple. They're just worded long.
Yeah. It's very, like I said, it's verbose, but not complicated.
Yeah, and there's a lot of... they go more the Game Workshop route, so every special rules are explained in the book instead of being in the card.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all keywords on the character cards, which make the rules longer. Yeah. Like there are pages and pages of special rules, but most of those are pretty simple.
And once you know your rules...
It's a bit like Infinity.
Yeah.
There are pages and pages and pages of special rules, but you need 1 or 2 per character. So if you play a small count, like 2 models each, you need to highlight 2 sentences on those resume page we had, the reference sheet, and the rest we don't need. So it looks daunting, but when you start playing it, it's nothing. It's super easy.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. And I tackled Infinity without any problem, so not intimidated by this game.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to put my $1 on the table, for the next game.
I'll be happy to play.
Oh, wow. Old school reference.
It should have been a quarter, though.
Yeah.
And when I stopped doing that, it was $1. So. All right. Well, for my part, like Paul said, I don't have much to say, so it's only gonna take 40 minutes instead of 45. I've been working on my secret projects, which I'm about to unveil in January, I guess. Now that everybody had their gift. It took a lot of time in December too, so I've not been doing anything else except Signal Firefly, which is about done too. I have nothing completed. And I played no games.
Wow.
Because I painted, yep.
I think we can go back all the episodes you were on, and that's not even a tiny part of all of those. You were done so quick.
Yeah,
you're hiding something.
Well, yes, I'm hiding 4 secret projects.
Yeah, 4 secret projects, that's why.
Well, the Signar Firefly. Let's go back to that for just a second. So I sense a trend, because you've done about a jack every 3 weeks or so for your Signar army. And they've all been kind of OSLE for...
Yeah.
So does that mean you're going to get a brick house in your future and do him too?
Oh, yeah. Probably. I mean, except if the rules are so bad, and when we get the model is...
The 3D render looks kind of...
It's like if you take each part and you look at it closely, they look good, but that pose they decided for,
I was trying to figure out if maybe there was some way you could fix that pose.
Oh yeah, no, there's...
Because it's so static, eh? Like he looks...
You shift the hammer down and shift the place on the handle he's holding it. Put it closer to the head of the hammer instead of at the bottom of it, and put it on his side instead of in the air, and already
exactly.
It would look better.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the first option I was considering. The one I decided for, because yes, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna cut the staff in 2 parts and reverse it, so he's holding the mace down on the ground. Same like
on the ground.
Same pose.
Yeah, for sure.
Lower the arm a bit, and he's holding the hammer down on the ground. And I'm just gonna repose a bit the other arm and the legs, and it's gonna look fine. It's gonna look like he's settled there and is about to do whatever he's doing with his hand, because we don't know what he's doing with his hand.
Yeah.
Big Iron Man-y, like he's gonna pose.
I was actually thinking of turning the left arm with the knot repulsor out a little bit, turning the head to look that way, in that typical Iron Man pose. And then I was thinking, I wonder if you could widen the position, like put the arm out sideways a bit with the hammer to look like he's lining up for a big crossbody, roundhouse swing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, could work also.
Because
anything is better than what they showed us.
Yeah, I don't understand that pose.
No. It was a Trevi the Great. We said it's why do they choose that pose when it's insultingly easy to repose?
Well, yeah, because it's a 3D render, right? It's a 3D model. And the thing is, it's got cool rules from what we've seen. Or at least it looks like it's going to have cool rules. The carapace rule is going to be tough as nails.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a 25 or 26 armor jack against range attacks.
Yeah, and the fluff they written for it sounds like he has hyper-aggressive, which is a rule that if you shoot at it, it will move, it will advance, and then they give him carapace, so you don't really want to shoot at the guy. Like, you're not gonna arm him, and he's gonna move.
Sorry, I should specify 25-26 is with Arcane Shield. I mean, I'm expecting to be 23 versus ranged.
Yeah, 23 versus ranged.
22-23.
Oh, 23, that's a Centurion chassis.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So that's 23 against range. That's 30 without any support. That's 30. Yep.
Yeah, and then you throw, like I said, you throw Arcane Shield on him, and he's unshootable basically at that point.
And And they also said that it would work great with Darius. So I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm pretty much sold.
All jacks work well with Darius, right?
No, I don't know.
No, I thought that was kind of his shtick.
Well, he likes jacks, but doesn't mean that all jacks like him.
Yeah, fair enough.
You get the point. But yeah, it looks great, and that's an option for more OSL. And yes, my Firefly will be full of OSL. I even added some electric coils on his back
to make it more OSL.
Yeah. Because if you look at, well, you've seen the work in progress pictures. Like, he has a lot of on his gun, obviously, some of it on his spear. But after that, he was done, so I added coil on his back.
All the OSL.
Yeah, all the OSL. Because apparently, some people think I'm good at it. Not on this show, but some people think.
I've never said you're bad at OSL. I just said you like it too much. I never said you were bad at it.
It's Max Crotto who says he calls it YOMSL instead of OSL.
Yeah. I mean, they can see your miniatures from space. It's okay.
Yeah, so a little easy project. Like the other jacks, because I had openings from commissions. Now it's starting again, but I'm doing those projects, those 4 models. So, but while I'm doing this, I don't want my page to go idle. That's the reason I'm doing it in OSL. Yeah. That's not because I think it's more important than taking a client's business, but like I cannot do a client's model right now, so why not? I mean, it's not like it's complicated to do this Firefly. It's taking me forever because I only work on it like randomly, but
you also know your recipe for your Signar pretty well now. So your jacks are something you can do pretty quick, even for the output you get on them, the results you get, compared to other stuff you would. Longer, like tartan wearing brewers or stuff like that.
Oh my god, the nightmare. No, but yeah, the Signar Blue, it's like you can turn your mind off a bit. But by now, like you said, I know how to do it. So.
Yeah, I keep wondering if the final pose for this model is not going to be what we see in the 3D render.
Oh, Brickhouse?
Yeah.
Well, why not? I mean, jacks are really easy to repose.
Yeah, maybe it's just all a cruel joke by Privateer Press, and that's not really what they're going to release in terms of a pose. I'm going to hope that's the case. Don't disappoint me, Privateer. Don't disappoint.
Or they will raise him with the stop sign.
Yeah. That was the best picture. The children crossing and a stop.
I was going to say, someone do a meme with the... That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've stretched out Yom's little segment a little bit.
Like for once, I was quick, so you had to make me talk.
No, that's okay. So why don't we take a little break, and then we'll come back with our pre-recorded interview with Mr. Mark Maxey, and then we'll come.
Sorry, I think Mark deserves like an introduction, like with a voiceover and an explosion. Like, Mark Maxey! No.
You just did it. That's
Wow. Yeah, so we'll be back, geeks. And we're back, and here we are with none other than internationally renowned painter Mark Maxey.
I don't know about internationally renowned, but okay.
Oh, come on, I wanted to, gotta spruce you up a little bit.
Oh, technically, you guys know me, and you're from Canada, so that sort of counts.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's international.
And we're your number 1 fans.
There you go.
Thanks.
I am anyway.
I appreciate it.
We have long discussions about Mark Maxey behind closed doors.
It's all good. It's all good.
That's what I'm worried about.
Called number one stalker, not fan.
Yeah. Well, it's about the same.
We used to be friends with Yom too until you started doing your hobby hangouts, and now we get ditched all the time. We never see Yom anymore.
No, you guys can come on. By the way, I won't be doing tomorrow.
Oh. You heard it here first, folks. Oh, except by the time this
two weeks ago,
yeah.
Gone, so. Focus, Mark. Focus.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Time frame.
Well, it's the Christmas holidays. I'm sure you can be allowed a few misses, Mark.
I try.
All right. So, Mark, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I've been painting for... Oh, my God. I'm old. I've been painting since like 95. How about that? We'll go with 95. Yeah. So then people can get a good idea. It's a long time. And I started as a traditional, if you can say traditional, Games Workshop hobbyist and painter. And I switched over to Chibis just recently, actually, if you think about the lifespan of like what I've been painting. Only in the last, like, I want to say 5 years. And I started, of course, with Super Dungeon Explorer. And then I've just painted a slew of different ones. I didn't start with the metal ones though. I wish I'd started with them because I saw them at Gen Con one year, and I was like, "Oh, those are sort of cute." But I was just walking by. If you've ever been to Gen Con, you're just getting pushed.
Yeah, it's insane.
And I was like, "What is that?"
The metal ones, if you want.
They're real, and they're neat. And the reason I like it is because I like painting on metal. I feel like it absorbs the paint better. It's easier to blend. I don't know if anyone else. Maybe I'm just crazy. But anyways, I wanted to try the metal ones, but next year I went back and I saw him again, and I met the owner, or one of the owners, John, and he was trying to sell us, the Super Dungeon Explorer box set. Didn't have the art. And I kid you not, that was like one of the main reasons I was like, no, I sort of want the box with all the cool artwork on it. And he had the prototype, and he's like, I promise you we'll get you a box if you want. And I'm like, no, it's $100. I'm not spending $100 on something I don't really know about. But we tried the game and we loved it. And then it came out I want to say like a couple months later, and we played it quite a bit, but I think I painted more than we played, and I fell in love with the models. I just absolutely fell in love with the models.
Well, there are a ton of models in that box too.
Right, and in every single person, I heard so many people complaining about putting them together, and I love that part because I could take the time to really go through and clean up the edges and the mold lines, which they weren't bad.
Yeah, I don't recall, aside from the dragon being kind of a pain to put together, because the pose was weird.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I didn't have any problems with any of the models, I don't think.
No, people just didn't like putting them together. It just was time consuming.
Well, board gamers,
yeah,
right?
because it's a board game.
And so that's where I think Super Dungeon Explorer, Soda Pop back then, sort of defined themselves. They were coming to the war gamers type people and hobbyists thinking that that's what people wanted and didn't understand where the popularity of board games was springing up. And then the next thing they did was they all put them together for people, and everyone was like, yeah, I love it. From a hobbyist standpoint, I was like, I can't get this mold line inside this crease here. It sucks. But, you get a little small needle file in there and you can get it out. But anyways, so I started painting that, and I did a little commission work for him. Some of the heroes that were from Relic Knights, I did a couple of those.
Okay.
And then I started doing some more, and I had sort of a little debacle where I had to stop painting for a little bit. And then I came back and I started doing impact miniatures, quite a bit of impact miniatures, a lot of impact miniatures. If you look on their website, between me and Liz, you will see a ton of...
Yeah.
So I did a lot of those. And then most recently, I did some Arcadia Quest Inferno ones. And I did that with you guys.
Yeah, that's when we met you.
With those guys, yeah. Not this guy.
And it was interesting because I was like, I remember seeing some of the figures and going, I was going to swear. I can't swear. Family show. But I'm like, those are good. Those are really good. And so I was very impressed. And I started just I think it was I started talking to Yam about it, going, man, your stuff is good. And I didn't really know Antoine as well, but I was just impressed by all of it. The shading, the highlights, everything was just it was awesome. It was very well done. And it's funny too, because what people don't understand is that when I take some of those miniatures and I repaint them, I follow the artist to a T. So when I'm repainting the miniatures, like I have like Liz's picture up of like her Spike. That's the one I just recently did, and that's what I'm following as a guideline, not the actual card. So like when I get the figures for the Inferno, I'm going to be following your artwork, your and Antoine's artwork. So
neat.
That's nice.
But because
some
I
kind
don't
of
know.
homage.
Well, I do. I like to just follow the color scheme, because sometimes the card, it's a little off in certain ways. And from an artist standpoint, I can look at the paint and go, okay, I've got a paint to match that paint. Sometimes the art card work gives me a little bit of like, not trouble, I would say, but it's tough to, I guess it's weird for me to match it sometimes.
Yeah. I remember working on those, and we had to match to the cards. And that was a challenge, especially they always have a back glow.
A back glow,
green
yeah.
glow, right?
Yeah.
And that was strange to work on.
But we dealt with Jen on this. If we could just let it go and like pretend the glow was not there, and most of the models I painted didn't have the glow.
I personally didn't add a glow to any of them except for I think the Witch I did. And when the models came out, they all had the glow on them. So they went back in, and I don't know if they photoshopped them, or I think Jen just
did it by hand.
She probably just put the glow in.
Yeah, she didn't do it on all the models. Like I remember seeing for the 4 I did that were published, didn't add it.
Yeah.
But, I think it was on and off, and depending on the time she had.
Yeah, because she was really short on time. But hey, Mark, when they come up, if you want any pointers, I can teach you a trick or two, no problem.
Okay.
Jeez.
I'll hold you to that one. There was, I remember one in particular, and it was the queen or the princess, the elf princess one.
The blue dress one.
The
Yeah,
one with like the scarring on the face, right?
Yes, the scarring on the face. Mm-hmm. Her flesh was absolutely like her skin tone on her face was really just awesome. And then the other one that I thought was really good because I saw it right away was the 300 guy, the Leonidas copy.
Yeah.
I painted one of the guys with the armor that had all the little, like, I want to say pivots and little, like, scuff marks everywhere. And as I was painting this, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Because trying to, like, blend over some of that is just, it's tough. It's not easy. So when I saw Leonidas and he had the same type of texture on his skin, I was like, and you nailed it. I was like, kudos, dude. That's, I don't even know how you did that. Because it's tough. And I understand why they did it. Like the original AQ Kickstarter, a lot of the hair is smooth. It's not, there's no recesses in it. It's very smooth. And they came back and they re-sculpted the hair on a lot of them. And they added in all those line textures. Because when Liz did them, she added all the line textures. And people were like, oh, well, this is all smooth. And, I guess they did it to make it easier. Because if you just go through and you do a quick, a paint color and then you put like a wash on it, then you're good to go.
And I think it also looks better in plastic for board gamers who don't want them painted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
think
that's true.
You're really missing something if you don't have a texture there.
Yeah.
But that was a pain to paint over.
Jeez.
It was
we
was
had to
interesting.
find the worst of it. Yeah.
It was definitely interesting. I don't think it was the worst for me. The worst for me was when I had problems with impacts with the release agent. I had paint just fleck off on me even after I washed it. So that was an interesting issue that I've had. But as I was saying before, when I was painting, I really didn't come into my own until I started painting these guys. And then I really just took the time. And over the years, I've actually gotten different techniques, and I've taken different classes from people, and I've added new levels, and my style has changed, and it's very interesting. It's a lot of people think of it as being like a very, I guess, cartoony or anime style feel, and they think it's going to be easy. and it's not that hard. And I will say to all those people, try it. Tell me how you like it after you've tried it, and then you come back and you've thrown your model across the room because you've torn the paint so many times after the blend. So,
yeah, I tried painting. Actually, I tried to paint a chibi about a year and a half ago, and I looked at it and I started putting paint on it. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, there's not coming from World of 40K. And War Machine, where there's tons of textures, tons of pouches, bits, bobs, like it's a lot easier to paint a regular gaming miniature than it is to paint a chibi, because a chibi, it's a lot of big smooth surfaces, and so you've got to paint in those extra little details, right? You've got to accentuate the miniature with the paint, and it just was completely foreign to me. And until I took a class with Liz, she came to Montreal. She taught a class here. That was the first time I'd actually successfully painted a chibi miniature, and now I've done a dozen or so or whatever, and I really love it. But like you said, it's a lot harder than people think.
Yes, it depends on the different style of miniature. So we were talking about before the Arcadia Quest ones. They are definitely have an anime feel to them, but they're more of a Western anime feel. Mm-hmm. And you have Super Dungeon Explorer, which is much more traditional anime style.
Big eye, small mouth, yeah.
Yeah. And I have to say, in my opinion, my favorite is going to be Super Dungeon Explorer. Not only because I started with them, but their models are just, in my opinion, they're some of the best models. But it doesn't mean that Arcadia Quest doesn't have some great models too. Some of their models are absolutely amazing. And then I'd have to give a shout out to Reaper. Reaper started putting out some Chibi Halloween guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I love them all. I have them all, and my favorite is the werewolf, but Medusa close second. But it's really a new thing, and I was saying, if you're going to jump in this bandwagon, go nuts. Give me some more to paint.
Yeah, I actually almost bought, because I just came back from ReaperCon, and I almost bought the box. I think the series is called Bone Civilians.
Yeah, that's them.
And yeah, they had it as like a one box. You could buy them all in it comes in the typical Reaper little gun case. And I looked at it and it was, I don't know, like 100 and something US, I think, for all of them.
They were $8.99 a piece, as I remember.
Yeah. I did some quick conversions and realized, that was a lot of money in Canadian. I was like, yeah, I don't like them that much.
Well, I know they had some of them in Bones, or they were going to do it in Bones.
Yeah,
and I would say stay away from that.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me that. I mean, Bones is great for what it is, and I don't want to rag on Bones because I think it's changed miniatures in a positive way. If you're a D&D player and you need 30 orcs to represent something, Bones is made for you. If you're a painter, I just don't think it's the best material for painters.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I think they pretty much know it too. So
they don't market it for that, right? Yeah. They don't market it for those people.
Exactly.
But if you want to, like, one of the things I've been throwing around in the back of my head is doing a painting for kids program where I'd go to different gaming stores, once a month, bring a bunch of minis, paint brushes, and then let people dig through a bin of miniatures, grab one for themselves, give them a paintbrush that's theirs, and then, let them paint and help them kind of get some basic techniques. And, and I think for stuff like that, Bones is great as a starting thing where you're basically doing, basic layering and washing. Bones works fine. But if you want to do super blends, it's not...
There's something with it. It's like the texture is... It's almost like an oily thing on it. I don't know what it is.
So there's a couple different things people do to make them more paintable.
But it's not just straight, like some people claim?
No. And in fact, the paint will slide right off them. Yeah. What people do, though, is they use brown liner from Reaper, and they thin it down, and they basically wash the model with it, and that seems to give the paint something to grip to. So it makes them paint better. I was just gonna airbrush prime. I bring my airbrush with me to the thing, and I can airbrush prime a model for a kid in 5 minutes. And
like an airbrush, like a Patriot 105 Extreme,
something like that. Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I don't use
is this what you have, or why did you mention this one in particular?
Because everyone mentions it.
So the Patriot 105 is a great workhorse airbrush. And yeah, I actually use mine for priming most of the time. I don't have the 105 Extreme. I have the standard 105, so it's a bit bigger needle. So I can take even thicker and chunkier paint, or primer in this case. And it doesn't have the little valve at the front, and it doesn't have the giant high roller trigger. But it does the job.
So is a running joke. People ask me, they're like, do you airbrush? And I'm like, you mean like with the Patriot 105 Extreme? And they're like, yeah, sure, I think. And I said, I don't airbrush.
No, that's not what you say. You don't call it an airbrush, Mark. Be honest.
I don't. I call it a cheater brush.
Well, I cheater brush all the time, and it is a fantastic tool. It won't make you paint better. It'll make you paint faster. It may make you think you're painting better, but it can be an awful crutch.
No, it's amazing. I joke about it all the time because I can't do it, and I don't have one. So but the people that do it, like, I see some of their blends, and I'm like, that took me like half an hour to get a blend that smooth. And I'm like, oh, it's just 2 different colors, and I just do this and do that, and it's all done. I'm like, it makes you mad because I'm like, you cheated.
But even that requires a certain level of practice. But the thing is, you cannot. Your model at the end will always look better than theirs if all they do is airbrush, because you cannot really do finishing work on a miniature.
Yeah.
With an airbrush, and I had a discussion. And we're way off topic, but it doesn't matter because that's the point of the show is to be off topic. I had a discussion with Mr. Justin from Secret Weapon Miniatures a little while back, and he was saying that he wishes he'd spent half the amount of time on his brush work as he did on his airbrush work, because he's super fantastic with an airbrush, but then it comes to finishing and he has to work at it for some things because he'd never built up that skill set. So, it is great to say, well, I can do this great blend with an airbrush on a tank or a knight or a big model, but then you get to, an infantry character, it becomes a lot tougher.
I could see it.
You want to paint a super detailed face on a 28mm model, all your airbrushing skills in the world ain't going to help you.
No, I know, and I just
but for army painting, like I do, it's fantastic.
I just like to give crap. It's just one of those things where I get a little jealous of because I see some of those airbrush skills and certain people do stuff, and I'm like, that's phenomenal. It looks amazing, and it's just, I call it cheater brush just because a little jealousy sneaks out, and by little I mean a lot.
It does take skills though. It's not as easy as it looks.
Oh yeah,
painting chibi is not as easy as it looks.
Okay, touche. That's French for touch, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Yeah. Well done, Mark. I've actually been tempted to crack open my my fully unpainted Super Dungeon Explorer that I've had sitting on the shelf for years. Yeah. And
you can
and paint.
You're just going to be disappointed. Why do I say that? Because the new stuff coming out is fan-beep-tastic.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of the new stuff, really. I haven't bought any of the new stuff.
It is better.
No, I'm sure it is. But as I was about to say, I'm tempted to try to airbrush the kobolds.
That's a good idea, especially
at least all their base tones.
Yeah,
like their hats and their armor and their basic flesh tones, and then I can go back in and work in shading and highlights by brush.
Yeah,
or final highlights.
And I think that's where I get there's a good and a bad thing. I think that's one of the things I was talking. I hate the rank and file stuff, but I love just painting the heroes. And so when we were going back and forth when I was painting the AQ guys, there's so many different heroes. Sure, there's a couple monsters in there, which I was like, I'm not painting the monsters. They can stay gray. But there's so many heroes. I was like, okay, I want to paint this guy now. I want to paint this guy. But now with the new AQ or the Super Dungeon Explorer Legend stuff, and I saw some of the stuff, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I've got the only thing I've got coming to me for Chibis is Rail Raiders.
Yes, I got that one too.
I backed that because it was so low cost, and I came close to getting Legends, but it's all models I already have. Yes, it's resculpts. I'm like, then what do I do with the ones I have?
Oh, it's not just resculpts. They've got the alt forms or the alt genders too, which is awesome.
Yeah, okay. But I meant just in terms of the base box. Like, I don't know.
I don't know if I actually don't know if the base box has the alt guys in it.
It
I don't
comes
think it
with
does.
the pledge, but not with the box. So it came in the Kickstarter. It won't come in the retail one.
Now, that's, speaking of that one, there's something recent I was talking to someone in the Chibi forums about this because they recently did this. Ninja Division jumped on with another company. I can't think of their name right now, but they did chibis, and they did some sci-fi chibis, really cool ones, but they're all exclusive, and you'll never be able to get them again with outside of this Kickstarter, supposedly.
Is that the Return Chronicles?
Yes. And some of them were they were phenomenal. And I said, okay, good. And I was talking to someone else, and I said, this looks really good. It would be a cool way to get their feet wet to see if there's an interest, which of course there is. But I don't like the non-exclusive. That's something different. But people say their Kickstarters were lower because they didn't have exclusives compared to like AQ. AQ, you can only get it, and people feel the need to get it, so it jumps up. And some of those Guildmaster boxes online are super expensive, but Ninja doesn't do it. And I said, well, people don't feel the need to get it, so they'll maybe pledge a small amount. But I don't know how I feel about it.
Others later. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know how I feel about that because I love being able to buy the stuff and convert it and swap it out. And I think I've bought like 5 of the Twilight Knight, when they're in stock. But now you won't be able to do that. I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm trying to think what the Twilight Knight looks like.
She's the Kingdom Death crossover, which Kingdom Death right now is doing a crossover for them. But there's no chibis, so I was like, whatever. You can keep all your crazy, penis monsters and whatnot. That's okay. We can say that on the show, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's not
Penis is not a bad word.
It's an actual word.
So I had to actually Google what the heck that model was. I've seen it a bunch of times. I think who else is on Model Workshop? It's not Larry, not
Clint Yegi.
Clint was doing one, I think, for something.
He was doing the sci-fi version of her, the actual Kingdom Death model one, not the chibi one.
Oh, I thought I remember him working on the chibi one.
Maybe he was.
Yeji did a regular one. Chibi one.
Oh, maybe it was Yeji then. Okay. I remember seeing something in their feed at one point when I used to follow it.
That's how we'll know if they listen to the show, right? They will answer.
It's my favorite. That's like by far, if you had to pick a chibi model as of right now, it's my favorite.
Interesting.
I've painted it, I want to say like, it's got to be 4 times now. And each time I've converted it. Twice I've converted it. One with angel wings, with her cloak turned into wings, and the other one I did a futuristic cyborg sniper. And Velvet sculpted me a little chibi sniper weapon. He was doing some other project, but he threw in a couple for me. And she turned out pretty well. Like, I'm trying to make it so that she's falling off a building and her cloak's behind her. But I was doing like this hex pattern that I saw someone else do for like, I think Infinity. Only later did I find out that those hex were actually sculpted in the cloak, and I was like, oh wow, well, that makes it easier. But
way to up your level, Mark.
I think Yam told me that. He's like, those are sculpted, right? And I'm like, what? Cheater. So
Cheater.
What,
Jan Falange?
Yam told me about that.
Oh, Yom. Oh, okay,
Yom,
sorry.
yeah.
Yom. Sorry.
Yeah.
I always say, I say your name wrong. Should I just call him Roxanne?
Americans, they always say Yam. I think it's the way that A and U combine as a word.
I can call you Roxy, baby. Whatever you want.
yeah. Only when times are tough, I'm called Roxy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Talk about taking a turn for the worse. Get the show back on track.
Okay, I got it. Yom. There we go. See? I'm learning French already. Good stuff.
I love you even more.
Oh, God. You guys need a room.
We do. It's on Wednesday nights. I'm sorry. Chibi Hangout.
Chibi Hangout, yeah. I may have to come by with a chibi at some point. I painted something at... Actually, I painted a couple chibis over at ReaperCon.
I did paint Antoine's little onion. I finally finished him. I haven't really posted anything. Yeah. I did a lot of good line work, and I did a lot of like layered washes over him to give him that sort of look. But I'm using the Reaper paint, and it still has a little bit of a flatness to it, so I might put a little bit of a soft like gloss over it. I hear you can buy that in the store. At least Yom told me about that, because I normally make mine from Elmer's glue and water. So,
sorry, what do you make from Elmer's glue and water?
a gloss varnish.
Really?
You can buy that in a store. You can buy gloss varnish in a store. cheap.
Well, I know you're like Jim Wappler. You paint with like super cheap brushes, and you know.
I do. I have.
We should call you Min Maxey instead of Mark Maxey.
Larry got me a Winsor Newton 2 or Series 7, and I've used it, I think, a handful of times, and it's so nice. It blends so well, but the bristles are so like weak compared to like the synthetic bristles I use. Mm-hmm. And so it's such a different style, and it was tough to go over. And like I was trying to do it, and I kept switching back to the other brush to get into the tiny details because it had a little bit more stiffness to it. And it's tough. I still go back to it every now and then when I'm doing like nice layered open areas because it blends just beautifully. So, but I use the cheap brushes, and I use a wet palette based out of a Ziploc container with paper towels and parchment paper, and
nothing wrong with that.
You just funny that on the last hangout we had a discussion about wet palettes, and I didn't really want to insult anyone, but it was kind of funny because I think it's a fair assessment that without Kelly on that hangout, we were kind of the two best painters, and me and you, Mark, and we are the ones using like really cheap homemade, like from a lid wet palettes.
Yeah.
Well,
and they're all using the like high class stuff, and we're like,
high class stuff that costs like $6. Yeah. The thing is, the only advantage to the Masters wet palette is the sponge, and that's just because the sponge the density is higher, so it holds a lot of water compared to using like paper towel, like layers of paper towel or whatever.
True, I do have to fill it back up many times.
That's the only difference. You know, a container's a container. When I made, when we did the class here for Liz, I made a bunch of wet palettes for the class and for the gaming store to use for painting hangouts and stuff. And I just used dollar store Tupperware containers. And I went out and I bought, 3 or 4 of the Masterson's, like the big wet palette sponges, and I cut them up to make them fit the Tupperware containers. Because those sponges hold more water and they're easier to work with. Aside from that, it's Reynolds wrap and all the cheapy stuff. So
yeah, and that's
not Reynolds wrap, Reynolds parchment paper.
Parchment paper. But see, how do I put it? People like will get these brushes and they will get these amazing paints. Like I remember with Vallejo and some other ones, and they'll get these everything they think that they see all these other people using, and they think that's what's going to make me a better painter. And it's like practice. No, it's practice. The other thing I would tell people is that it's time. The more time you spend on something, just working at it, making it perfect, don't settle for it. Like if you look at something like, it'll be good enough. No, keep going. Once you start learning that, the advice I got from Tim Lyson years ago was hours. I'm serious, hours. And then you'll, now mind you, there's other people faster, of course, but like just spend more time on it. Really work at it. And then you'll get better.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can't argue with that. No, it's not necessarily my philosophy. I totally can't argue with that.
Paul will just make a pause. Somebody dropped. I'm not sure who.
It was Yom, I think.
Okay, we can keep going then.
Oh, wow.
I'm totally going to leave that in the show, by the way, because I'm a mean man. But we'll make it a surprise.
By the way, I said, I'm defending him, say Team Yom. I'm Team Yom. Or Yom.
That's okay.
God. You know what? I'm American. I'm just going to keep saying
Yom. No problem.
I'm going to say it like that, because America.
All good.
Anyways.
I'm also Team Yom, but don't tell him that.
Okay, I won't.
You shouldn't be.
Oh, wow.
Says his best friend.
Yeah.
Weren't you guys best men for each other?
He was my best man.
Okay. Oh, that's right. He's not married.
No.
Are you going to make more of those little figures? I really think you should. I know you showed me pictures, but I don't see any miniatures in my hands yet.
Yeah. I want to.
Everyone loves the onions, dude.
The two kids and the work pattern doesn't help.
I thought I was going to have a brawl in my hands at ReaperCon, dude. So when I started passing them out, people were like mauling me to get some.
Wow, you're pushing it.
I'm totally not.
Am I back?
You are
You're back.
You are.
Okay.
You left and I swore. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Like, do I go? Do I stay? No.
No, I was saying that, I mispronounce your name all the time and I call you Yam. And I said, you know what? I'm American. I'm going to keep mispronouncing it because America.
And then I dropped.
And no, I think I said, you dropped and I said something like F it and, I'm going to keep saying it. So, I mean.
Say it the way I want to say it because I'm
right.
American. It's all America. Good. It's all good. America has amazing barbecue.
America is now an idiocracy, so.
Oh, you did go down to Texas, so okay, good stuff.
Yeah, I went to this place, fifth best barbecue place in the States, apparently, according to some independent study, and it was amazing. I went there with Patrick Keith and his wife Vicky.
Okay,
it was delish, and they have this thing called the Texas Twinkie, which is like a big jalapeno popper.
Okay.
Stuffed with brisket. Like it was so good.
It sounds pretty good. I don't eat beef anymore, so I haven't eaten beef since I left Texas a long time ago. Because I was born and reared in Texas originally.
Yeah, I know. I Facebook stalked you to find that out.
And I'm just talking. Okay.
He's a guest on my show. I have to know everything about him. I can't be surprised.
Yeah, it's funny too because I like most people understand. They're like, "You're from Texas. You don't have an accent, and you're pretty okay. You're pretty left when it comes to politics."
Yeah, you're kind of liberal, Mr. Sculpted Bernie Sanders.
That's right.
Which, by the way, that is probably one of the most amazing chibi models I've ever seen. I love the Feel the Burn model.
So there's an interesting story with that one. I actually contacted the guy who sculpted the Super Dungeon Explorer guys, Danny Quest, and I said, "What would it cost for you to sculpt me this?" And he's like, and he quoted me the price, and I said, that's way out of my price range. And I said, I'll do it myself. And I started with one of the closest ninja guys from Ninja All-Star I could. And it was like the blind swordsman. And he didn't have glasses, and so I put glasses on him, and I cut off half his head, re-sculpted it, and then I used Sculpey for like the base of the hair, and then I used green stuff to make the fine points of the hair. And it was Don had done it because he's really into chibis too. And he showed me this picture of it. It was like Bernie Sanders as a samurai, and he was slicing up like both the Democratic symbol and the Republican symbol. And I said, that's brilliant. I said, it's awesome. His hair, and he's got, he's balding, but he's got the hair flowing in the wind. I said, I have to do that. So then I made the model, and I gave it to him at Adepticon. He'd won like I did a raffle on my webpage, and he'd won something, and I said, well, how about I give you this instead, because I think you'd like this better. And he did, and so I gave it to him. But yeah, it was a favorite. But I put it up on Heavier Metal, and people were giving me like negative like responses because they're like, I hope this is a joke. And I'm like, you mean Bernie Sanders in a samurai outfit with long flowing hair isn't serious? I mean, come on. Of course it's not a joke. It's serious. I mean, Bernie Sanders, why wouldn't he be dressed as a samurai? And he's like, well, you have to understand. I'm like, dude, it's a joke. It's a chibi miniature that I did as Bernie Sanders as samurai. Come on, how can you not take it as a joke? But I'm like, this is not political, even though I was totally for Bernie. But I didn't say it was. I just said it was a joke, but still, oh my gosh, their response. People are like, yay, it's awesome, I love it. And people are like, this is bad, and he's a socialist. I'm like, oh my God, let it go.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? The rest of the world are socialists too, and they're doing okay.
Oh.
But anyway,
we're
topic for another
socialist and atheist L here, and everything's fine.
What?
This is paradise for you here, Mark.
Yeah, I've heard. Except it's too cold. Oh my God, it's always cold.
It's other
way
than
too French.
at your
Way too
place right
French.
now.
Yeah, and you get used to it.
Yeah, I've heard that.
What, the French or the cold?
The cold, you
Just
don't
the
get
cold.
used to French.
I'd probably be okay with learning some French. I could do that.
Well, you can already say touche, so
Yeah,
you're on your way.
yeah, I'm getting there. One day. I forget.
So
some
what
of
was
the
the
other
show
stuff.
about originally? I think it was Chibis, right?
Chibis. Well, we sorted in Chibis with Bernie Sanders. He was a
We
Chibi guy.
kinda did, yeah. And actually, I remember I remember when I saw you at Adepticon with him, like, please tell me you're going to cast this and sell it, please. You're like, I can't because it's based off another model and like,
Yeah.
man, I was sad.
Yeah,
I was very
I showed
sad.
it to John, who is the owner, and his political standing was not with Bernie Sanders, so I don't think he didn't like it that much. He thought it was cool, but I don't think he liked it. So, but whatever.
Well, I hope he likes what he got. That's so. Yeah, techniques. Let's get off the politics before I say something horrible and get rid of the few listeners we already have.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've talked a bit about blending and how blending's a big part of Chibis,
Yeah.
right? I think it's a fair assessment. What else do you think? What skill sets do you think doing Chibis builds when it comes to miniature painting?
That's a good question. So I would have to say it really does help blending over large, smooth surfaces. A lot of them, anyways. And you will add. It also helps with freehand by adding in texture and detail, like with hairlines and striations. But it's not an easy thing to do because if anyone's painted large, smooth surfaces with a brush, you'll find that it becomes blotchy in areas or you'll try to go over areas too soon. The paint hasn't dried with the layering or something, and the paint will tear. So it's not easy. But as far as my techniques go, I've switched in certain ways. I used to start very dark, and while the paint was still wet, I would try to blend it up to the light area.
Like wet blend it, yeah.
Like wet blend it, yeah, close to that. Or you could do some little bit layering, and then I would put some thin layers back in there to try to get some areas. But I recently started something back where it's almost regressed my painting style, which helped me progress in a certain way. So before I used to start very dark, and now I start in the middle. And you're probably like, well, how do you get those really good contrast highlights if you start in the middle? I start in the middle now, and this was a technique I picked up from Sam, and you do all your bases. You block everything out in your base coats. And then from there, you take like your color wheel complements, and you add that to like your dark and your light, and then you pull up your highlights and you push in your shadows. And I know that sounds sort of strange, but the way he said is like if you want to add a shadow into there, you start where the least part of the shadow would be, and you take your brush and you sort of push the color to where it's going to be darkest, so the remainder of the dark color, and very thin down, of course, will end up in the recess.
Yeah, you're blending it down essentially.
You're blending it, but it was weird. He called it pushing it. So you push it down into the recesses, and then with your highlights, you start you start where the paint is there, and it's lighter, and you pull it up, and then it ends up the darker or the most paint will end up at the top where you want the lighter shade to be. So it's pretty much the same and opposite at the same time. So because of that, I've learned to add huge amounts of contrast, which is something I was really lacking because all my paint used to go to pastel. Horrible.
But you're pretty good at it. I call you the pastel lord, but you're pretty good at it. For that style, for Chibi style, it works very well.
With a lot of bright colors, yeah. And Chibis, I'll bring that up. Chibis are very bright. You want bright colors. You want contrast, but you want bright colors. You don't want to do that dark, grim. You see that the grim, dark look. That's really not what you're going for. You want bright, colorful. Right, exactly. And so that's one of the techniques I just recently learned, and it's really taken it to that next step, and I'm really happy with where it's going. And so to speak, I've sort of taken that, adapted it to certain other models I'm working on right now, which are not Chibis. But yeah, it's a very I don't know how to explain it. It's very smooth surfaces, lots of blending. It's not easy when it comes to that kind of stuff, because in a lot of other models you have, as you said before, little bits and bobs and nooks and crannies, and here's a turn and here's a little rivet here, and I totally lost train of thought.
We're talking about how the difference, because all these flat surfaces, as opposed to like another miniature has all these nooks and crannies and stuff to kind of hide.
Right, exactly. There's not as much area to hide. So that's where one of the reasons why it's tough with the flat surfaces. And you can't really hide your blends. Your blends are out in the open. So I would say that is a huge area for like chibi painting when it comes to smooth surfaces. Now I will say that like when you do contrast and with the chibi, you want to make sure you go up and down, of course. I will say the one place that you would not want to go up and down to the extreme is in the face. And the face is something where I would say you can add in shadows and depth, unless it's like a Western style chibi. Like a lot of the Arcadia Quest ones have they look old, and that's fine. But when you come with the like Soda Pop ones and the Eastern ones, you want it to be relatively smooth. You want to start. I rarely go down. I usually just go up, because if you start adding too much depth in there, they start to look old. And the chibis are supposed to be small, cute, young style. You don't want them to look too old. So I know there's another painter that constantly does that on the chibi forums, and I'm like, I don't like it. It's not my style. And I would recommend to anyone else, don't paint like that. Your chibis are supposed to look young and cute, and they're not supposed to look like old 80-year-old women. So, anyways.
No, that's probably a very good pointer. I was, as you were talking about, I was thinking about how I paint my contrast on the chibis, and yeah, I push them quite far, like in the recesses, like under their head, like around the neck and stuff.
That's fine. Just the face alone should not, like around their eyes. A lot of times they have.
Yeah, you don't want to give them like bags under your eyes and stuff.
No,
yeah, a lot of times.
If you put the lights, it's all right. Just the shadows.
Correct. I would say exactly that. You push the cheekbones and you push the nose, but you'll see people that will push, like they'll darken around the eyes, and and you can make a pseudo nose, and that's fine, but you'll see people that actually make like a real nose and have these lines and they like almost jowls on the figure. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you want pure baby skin.
You do. And
that's I'm looking at an Impact Samurai that I painted at ReaperCon, and yeah, I kind of did that.
Well, and you could add a little bit to it, and you can do a little bit, I would say, but you don't want to go overboard. If you go overboard, because the recessors are supposed to meant like, lines and shadows and like wrinkles and things like that, and unless it's like supposed to be an old person chibi, like there are some that are like that, but most of the time they're very baby faced, cherub like. You don't really want to do that. So, in my opinion, I mean, everyone I've talked to that paints chibis, a lot of commission ones, you guys, Drew, Liz, they all agree with me. There's a couple people that are like, they push the contrast. I'm like, I just don't think it looks good. But the horror miniature is a little different too. The horror chibi miniatures, that's a little different because they're horror miniatures. But, anyways.
I also agree. No.
Anyways.
Sorry, now I'm looking at my chibi model going,
The other thing I used to start with was the paint. I used to have an old Games Workshop paint. It was elf flesh, and it's gone. They don't make it anymore. And that's what I had some old stuff, and that's originally what I started with. And
Cold Darn still has it.
Do they?
Yep.
Oh, I might have to get some of that.
Yeah, because Cold Darn was the company that made the paint for GW.
But when I originally did my when I originally did my chibis, I painted their skin tone with no inflections. It was just a clean, pure, even tone. There was no highlights. That was it. There was nothing. It was just their face was pure elf flesh or whatever it was. That's it. There was no lights. There was no nothing. And the original ones I did for Super Dungeon Explorer were exactly like that. It was just, I want it to be smooth and even, And
okay.
So and you see the stuff I've done now, it's a lot different now. There's highlights, there's shading, stuff like that. Not too much, of course, on the face, but
But did it work?
I think it did, but then again, the most recent ones I painted were Arcadia Quest, and they have a definite Western style. So if I were to add in the shades and blends in there, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't done a Soda Pop one yet in that style, even though I practice on one. But I think it'll transition well. I'm excited to get some new ones.
Can't wait to get them because I don't have the original. I only have Inferno on the way. That's it.
You don't have the original AQ?
Nope.
You guys played it though, right?
Ooh, yeah, we found someone who had the game, so we played it once.
Yeah, I keep looking at a copy that's 50% off somewhere. And even at that price, I can't justify buying it because I'm like, I'll never use this.
No, you should get it. It's definitely fun, and you can always pick up the miniatures that you're missing, like from those guild boxes and such. You can pick those up at like Cool Mini will do like promotions where you buy stuff and they'll give you, if you buy like $25, you get like a free model or something. I've gotten so many people that, you know, free miniatures and ship them at exorbitant prices to other countries and such.
We just don't play board game enough.
We just don't game enough. Let's face it. I don't game enough. I need to game more.
You do.
Need to stop having babies and find a way to game more.
Arcadia Quest is awesome. Masmora, on the other hand, it's not so awesome. But that's just my opinion.
What's Masmora? Is that an expansion?
No, that's the dungeon that they came out with. Masmora's Dungeons.
Okay.
It's another Kickstarter they ran earlier in the year.
Yeah, I remember the Kickstarter, but I didn't remember how it played into like the game.
Well,
like
it doesn't really. They just took the Chibi universe and they just said, okay, now Masmora's, the dungeons of Masmora are now in the Arcadia universe, and then they made Chibis out of them. So,
I see.
Brilliant marketing scheme, like to get you to play in, and then they started adding all the characters in with the heroes. So just like Arcadia Quest, and they made them cross-compatible, which was another great thing they did.
Yeah,
so, like they weren't going to do. I just wanted them to make all of the Masmora figures to be able to be played in Arcadia Quest. But they went a step beyond and they made all of the Arcadia Quest figures be able to be played in Masmora. And I was like, okay, well, that's a huge step in both directions. So I was like, okay, well, that's good. I don't know how well they're balanced though, but it's still pretty awesome that they went one step above that. But Masmora, the gameplay, it's okay. It's just okay. If you want a dungeon crawl, I'd recommend Super Dungeon Explorer, hands down.
Okay, interesting. But Arcadia Quest itself is a good game. You like Arcadia Quest?
I do because I like the.
You would like it. You could attack Guillaume.
well, no. Okay, so it's player versus player versus environment. They have a new little sort of fun concept with it, where you have to do quests, and your objective is, okay, I need to find a book or I need to find a hidden treasure, and there's little points around the map where you have to turn over treasures or you have to kill a certain monster. Like there might be a mini boss you have to go kill before other people do. And if you do, you'll get a weapon or you'll get a title, and the weapon or title will carry over to your next game. And you might have to kill somebody as part of a quest, but once you kill them, if you kill them again, it doesn't give you any extra quest points. So it's sort of worthless. I mean, you can't have people I've heard of vicious games where people just kill each other constantly and no one really
just
wins.
Griefing?
Yeah, just constantly griefing. But if two people are duking it out and that person's low because the other guy didn't get the finishing blow and you're next to him and you need to kill that team for a point of like on your quest meter, you just teleport over there and kill them real quick. It's nothing personal. You just have to get it done.
Do you have it on the way, Antoine? Inferno?
Nope.
No, did you? Okay. So we'll play, Paul, because I have it on the way, and yes, I'm sure we will have a lot of fun.
Yeah, but the best thing about it is the setup takes a little bit of time, but then at the end of the game, whoever wins or loses, great. But you might have gotten some treasure or whatnot, but you get coins from doing your quests, killing monsters, killing people, and you do a round robin of like card drafting, and you get items. And you then spend the money you got from questing and killing people on the items, and then you're set for the next round. But the monsters get a little bit harder, but it's not like Zombicide where it's like feels like worthless. But you equip your guys, and they become powerhouses, and you can't wait to jump back in the fray and do some more quests and kill some more monsters. So it's pretty neat. I do like it. I like the fact that you have the ongoing scenario. So you'll play six campaigns, and the campaigns can change based on whoever wins can choose the next path in the city. And in the new game, supposedly you're going to have angels where if you rescue the angel, you can swap out that character for the angel character, and suddenly you have an angel character on your team. But if you don't rescue them in that round, the next game, I think they come after you, or they're now a monster. And then, really well done. Like
it sounds interesting.
The gameplay's really well done, and it's pretty fun. Like the way you do it, it's like you'll like it if you play. It's pretty good time.
Okay, I'll have to give it a whirl.
So it's I could go on. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You can go on. We're not out of time here.
I was just saying I like it a lot. I like it for a board game, but like people compare the two with like Super Dungeon Explorer, and it's totally different. Totally different game. Like one's a dungeon crawl and one is a board game.
Right.
So.
Okay.
And one is PvP and the other is
full
one against multiple. So it's not the same thing.
Yeah, I haven't
They
actually
really
done
don't feel the same.
Semi PvP.
Well, it's PvP VE. Yeah. You're not cooperating with the other guys. You're just not getting in their way, maybe.
Exactly. It's not the only thing you have to do.
Right. Okay. On to another little topic, something I brought up earlier. Is there a bias against chibi painters? Do we feel there's a chibi bias?
Family show, so I can't swear.
Because the reason I brought this question up, because my impression was that people see chibi models and they don't give the artists the credit they deserve for what went into the model. And apparently Mark kind of agrees with me.
I definitely agree with you. True. You can get it. Unfortunately, there's no comparison with it. So people look at like a 40K model and you can slap a dry brush on there and a couple ink washes on it, and people will give that more kudos than like a model you paint for like hours on end for a chibi with smooth blends. And, that's pretty much it. You have these really clean stuff, but there's a huge bias. People don't like them. And, art's all subjective, but people don't like that. I remember showing an old buddy of mine from like when I was at ISU, and I hadn't seen him in years, and we did a team tournament together, and he's like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a Adepticon." And he's like, "Oh, what'd you do?" And I said, "Well, I entered the painting competition," and I was showing him some of my chibis, and he's like, "I don't like those models." And I said, "Okay, well, you can admire the paint job." And he goes, "You can put turd on, or lipstick
Polish
on a turd.
Yeah.
And it's still a turd." And I said, "Wow, okay, well, I don't really think that the models are that."
Yeah.
And
If you remember Alex Nemes' epic rant this year about Crystal Brush,
God.
It touched that a bit too. When he talked about kind of miniatures that will never win the Crystal Brush, he touched the chibis a bit, because there's that thing that it's a popular vote in Crystal Brush, and there's a bias. They don't like. There's a lot of people who don't like chibis.
yes,
And no matter the paint job, it will never win a popular vote.
they will score it down. They will downscore it, and I've seen it happen. It doesn't matter how exactly what Tom said. It doesn't matter how well you paint it. They just don't like it, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. But at the same time, then it becomes you're not valuing the art or the artwork. You're devaluing the model. So
Yeah, and I hate to say that Crystal Brush is, as far as competitions go, it's a big cash prize and it's maybe high prestige, but because of the voting aspect of it, I think it's it's very skewed.
Yes, absolutely.
The popular vote is just that. It's a popular vote. It is what it is. It's no one's fault. It's not, it's not the artist who wins fault. It's not the people who voted the way they voted's fault. It's really the competition's fault.
I just wish it was skewed a little bit more, like maybe weighted a little bit more, maybe like 60-40 or 70-30 or something, where the public didn't have as that much, you could sort of say, yes, I really like this, or I really don't, or they could give a little bit. But at the end of the day, the actual judge that's right there looking over the model, and is hopefully unbiased, would be the final decision, because you do have people. I mean, we talked about it before. You have some of these people that are advertising, on Facebook and all these other, vote for my stuff, and it becomes about not so much, as I said before, I was saying it on the other podcast. It's not so much the art as it is the business model contest, and a popularity contest, and and that's the way it is. So it is what it is. So if you're gonna jump in this game and you're gonna jump in that competition, then you know what's at stake and what the rules are. I mean, one year they had the sculpting competition, and it was Sebastian Archer was doing all the sculpts for Twisted, his game coming out. Mm-hmm. He put them right in there, and he won. And I'm like, of course he won. They were amazing, like the Medusa one and some of the other ones. But it's like, are you putting it in there because it's it's amazing sculpts and you're an artist, or are you putting it there because you want notoriety and you want recognition based on that, and it brings in marketing campaign? Mm-hmm. And now suddenly your models that you sculpted won Crystal Brush, and they're coming out next year in a Kickstarter. So is it an advertisement, or is it an art show?
Yeah, and I think Crystal Brush is in a funny place now because of the big cash prize. It's done funny things to it, I think.
It really has, and it's you could get into another whole topic about that one, but
yeah, and I don't really want to call anyone out or say anything, but if you look at what was entered last year, right, there were some selections that I feel personally where the popular vote made the I don't want to say the less good entry win, but it's basically like there were entries that placed higher than I expected they would place. Let's put it that way.
I will call one thing out, and it was in my category, and it was Rico, and he did a little Ninja All-Star guy, and it was perfect blends, perfect example of what I think a chibi should be. And I told him right off the bat, I was linking the figure to the Ninja All-Star people, and I posted his. And unfortunately, when it came up the back of the head first. Like when you clicked it, that's what the first picture was.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, well, that's a little strange, and that might be a little biased. If people see that and they click through and they're like, okay, that's weird. And they might not know it's the back of the head. But if you actually looked at his figure, it was flawless. And I told him when we sat down and I said, I am legitimately scared of your model. Your model, in my opinion, is better than my models because of how clean it is. It's really well done. And I said, I hope you do well. If you do beat me, I say kudos, congratulations, because you deserve it. You did a really good job. He did not score third. He was in the final cut, but he didn't make top 3. And I was very surprised by what beat him. And in some respect, even my own figures that I worked so hard on, because it was, in my opinion, better than even mine. And I was very just sort of like blown away how it was not top 3. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That was you entered was it the Nurgle Marines, or was that entered in unit?
There was
some confusion, I think, with that, wasn't there?
There was huge confusion. I entered the Nurgle guys in the squad, and I entered the Manor House with the the Angel and the Chibi, and they confused them. And next thing I know, the other guys were out, and the Nurgle guys were in the Chibi category. So now, mind you, I don't know if the Nurgle guys would have done well because, you know, going up against Tom Shaddle and some of those other guys, you know, wow. So it is what it is. But I specifically painted the manor house with the angel and the undead guys for the Chibi competition. The other guys was just a squad thing. You know, I thought Sci-Fi Squad, these guys are, you know, I didn't want to do fantasy because I wanted to do the mech, so I made them sci-fi.
The way you said it's like you dismissed that work. It's like, oh yeah, they were just like some...
They were amazing. I love those models.
I appreciate it. But and they were like, you know, I think I spent equal amounts of time on both of them, but I think I spent like, I spent months on it.
The Manor House was your baby, right?
Yeah, and it hasn't been judged, and so I'm still trying to see what I want to do with it. You know, it's like
I thought you entered that in Gen Con this year. I thought that was the plan.
I didn't go to Gen Con.
Oh, okay. Well, that would change the plan. Yeah. Didn't go to Gen Con. Didn't go to ReaperCon. So I'm thinking about entering in for Gen Con for next year, or this coming year, I should say. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Like, I don't ever really re-enter models. It's against... I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
But that's a personal rule for you.
It is a personal rule for me. It's one of those things where, you know, people think I'm nuts for that, but because if the rules don't allow it, why not? But I don't like doing it. So...
That's fair. The only opinion that matters is your own opinion of yourself, right? So if you don't like to do it, then don't do it.
But I don't... So the confliction I have is that the entry was not judged in the category I entered it in. So did it count? I don't think so.
No, it wasn't judged. So that it was like it was never entered.
See, that's what my opinion is. So I don't really have qualms about entering in another competition. But anyways, that's my own thing. Yeah, I don't. Someone's like, why don't you enter like your Chibi guys in, you know, the Crystal Brush for the Reapers? And I said, well, I want to enter them at Reaper. And, you know, so I'm not going to double do it. Like, the only thing I would think would be different would be, like, if you did the World Expo, because it's more like display.
Yeah.
You know? And it only comes around 4 years, so it's like you have stuff that's accumulated and you want to show it off as a group. Because I think you can do a group thing, but...
Well, it's an open competition, isn't it?
I think it's open, too. But
right. So open, you would show your best pieces.
And I'd want to show my Chibi stuff.
Right? And then the judges pick whatever they want to judge.
Yeah,
out of your display.
But going back to what you're saying exactly, I think there's a huge, horrible elephant in the room when it comes to that kind of stuff, and people will not tell you directly, but they really are like, they won't. If they're going to choose between like a bust or a large scale model versus a Chibi, they're going to choose the bust. It seems like there's like a huge trend going towards it. Like, look on Putty and Paint if you want to, and you will see non-gaming models and busts in large scale, and that's just the way of it. And it's disparaging because people will really say, I don't like that model because only reason is it's a Chibi model.
Bust also had to cross that desert, but they came out somewhat recently.
Well,
Except on big competition, like we talk about Monte San Savino or the World Expo. But aside from those big world competition, busts in other competitions, they just came out of the desert.
Yeah, well, I think it's a North America thing, right? We're so stuck that.
Yeah.
I mean, even historicals here, right, weren't judged the same way, and they weren't. You didn't see a lot of historical pieces in like Crystal Brush.
No.
Not.
Right.
You not this last year. The year before, you saw some fantastic stuff. David Powell.
Yeah, but that's recent, right? That's what I'm saying.
Tom Ailes.
Tom Ailes, yeah.
Tom Ailes is awesome.
It's like the bus. It's like a recent addition to our hobby.
The historicals were from, I think that was actually 2012 on. They did the historicals category because of the demand for it. And just like the Chibi category, there was a huge demand for the Chibi category in 2014. Mainly because they entered in 4 different categories with them. So, It was me and Liz. That was it. We entered Chibis, and then they said, "Oh, is this popular?" And they're like, "Yeah." And she worked for them at the time, and so next thing you know, there's a Chibi category. I was like, "Sweet."
You changed the world.
Well, not me. It was probably more Liz talking to them. But speaking of that, there's a new Chibi only painting competition coming up at Gen Con from Soda Pop or Ninja, the Crystal Cobalt Golden Cobalt. Very excited.
Nice. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see a Chibi melee from Bombshell.
Oh,
I think that would be hilarious.
Well, he did Critterkins too.
Yes, he does the Critterkins.
And I know supposedly he's supposed to do a pug one, like a steampunk pug guy with like a bowler and a eyepiece or something. I forgot how he was going to do it. But I'm going to hold him to that. Patrick, if you're listening, I'm holding you to that. Not the fake Patrick, the real Patrick.
My melee collection. I have a regular one, and I have this 75mm coming up in the mail. I need a Chibi one.
Yeah.
He could do it.
Complete the cycle. Well, there's gonna be another melee coming too, right?
Another one? How many are there?
Well, there's a top secret one coming.
Ooh,
there are others also. There's a
Yeah.
fantasy one, a steampunk one.
Yeah.
So,
I have the fantasy one and the 75mm coming.
I think someone painted one of her. She's the one with the giant, like not a crowbar, but like the giant wrench.
Yeah.
Someone painted one for Iron Painter this year that was fantastic. And I think they won their category with it, or they were the overall winner, or they were one of them. But yeah, it was really cool. It was like a swarm, and she was swinging it like a baseball bat, and there was a swarm of these little mechanical spiders coming up attacking her.
Okay.
I don't know, just random thought, but it was her.
Yeah, she's a cool model. There's a bunch of different things Patrick's done with her. Like, Patrick's a fantastic sculptor too, right? He makes some really awesome models.
The real Patrick is. The fake Patrick, not so much.
Okay. I don't know who the fake Patrick is, but...
I think we'll learn that in about 5 seconds.
He got hacked just recently, and he was telling everybody to not... He was sending out friend requests, and the friend request was, sending out links to people saying, "Hey, you need to come support me and go to this link."
Yeah. Actually, I saw that today. He Facebooked everyone saying, "It's not me." Yeah.
I'm like, how do I know it's not you? You could be a Cylon.
It's all part of the plan.
And he's like, he responded back. I'm like, that's what a Cylon would say, though.
He's an awesome guy. I really enjoyed meeting him at ReaperCon this year. He and his wife, great people. But yeah, so there actually is another 75mm melee coming.
I just don't like the big figs. One? Not just his. I just don't like the big figs. You know what I mean? I don't know.
See, I'm moving towards that more and more, I think.
Who is this? Who's moving towards it?
Me.
What was your name again? You're dead to me now.
Oh, wow.
Ow, that hurt. That really, so quickly, really hurt.
How quickly the tables turn, you.
Ouch.
Hey, Paul,
ouch.
Do you remember that guy named Yom who used to be a chibi painter? I remember him. Remember that? I remember.
Yeah, I kind of remember something about him.
So hashtag Team Paul?
Hashtag Team Paul. Yeah.
No, it can't be happening. It can't be. I take it back.
Hashtag who's Yom?
I'm actually on hashtag Team Antoine because he's making the new onions that have weapons. Like with Uzis and things.
Oh, God. Rambo onions.
That would be awesome. With a giant serrated knife, one hand, Uzi in the other knife, and a giant, weird, awkward yell. Yeah. Do it.
That's so got to be done. Antoine, make it so.
Mind you, Antoine, anything I say, please take it with a grain of salt. I've been drinking, so.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the concept of the onion is to just make a body and changeable arms. So it would be super easy to do that.
Yeah. I still think you should make other things, though. Like other
vegetables?
Other vegetables that are angry. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think there's a plan for that at some point.
You could make like an orange that has the top part of the peel sort of coming off. and then, with a giant American flag. That would be cool.
It took me a second, but I caught it.
What?
Nothing else.
We're talking miniatures and chibis.
Mark, I love you.
Don't go there.
Are you going to Adepticon this year, Mark?
Yes, I'll be teaching there.
Oh, right. I mentioned that earlier. I'm an idiot.
I'm teaching 2 classes.
Are you going to be hanging out at Fort Wapple?
Yeah, for a little bit. Depends on how long I can deal with like bending over and painting and such like that, and we'll see. I'd like to play some board games this year. I always said I was going to play board games last year. I never played any board games or do anything like that.
We'll have a board game date.
Okay. I know I'm excited. Wait, who else is going? Antoine, Yam, are you guys coming?
No, only Steve from the group is going to.
Okay.
Yeah, Steve is going, and another friend of mine from outside the show is coming.
No, we totally missed our chance to meet in person in 2015, Mark. We were both on site, and we didn't know each other back then.
You don't understand, like, when I'm there, this last year, I actually stayed there the most. I painted. Like, just sat there and painted, but I was okay because I was painting. But the crowd's sort of like, not that it's crowded, but I get sort of like, not agoraphobic, but like the crowds, like, especially at Gen Con, I can only do about a day. Someone's like, why don't you stay longer? I'm like, I can only do about a day. It gets me there's too many people, and I get sort of, like, okay, I gotta go. So, like, when I'm teaching the class, it's like just a group of people, no problem, I can hang out. And when we were at Fort Wapple, we were sitting there and just painting, and it's cool and hanging out. But like walking around the halls and everything, there's so many people. It's like, it's getting more and more crowded. It's like, if we sat down and played a board game, I'd be perfectly fine. So, but most of the time I go and I'm like, okay, I'm good. And I see everything and see some people. Okay, I'm going home.
Well, you live kind of close by, don't you?
Yeah, I live close by. It only takes about 45 minutes to get there. So, and the 1 year I taught my classes, and then I literally just like left. This last year I painted, and I taught 3 classes, and I think 3 classes is too much. The last class I had 5 people. It was the last day, and it was Sunday, and I had people drop. Even though I had like almost a full class, I had people drop because of probably hangovers.
And people just want to get a head start and head home. They decide to leave early on Sunday.
Yeah, I know that was the reason. Like I had Liz and Kat drop one of my classes because they were hungover, and I'm like, okay, no problem. But yeah, I do my classes early because no one wants to do the early classes. I'm like, I'll take the early classes. I'll get up early. I'm old. I don't mind.
I think you still have a couple spots. You did last time I checked. You still have a couple spots free. Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't checked.
I'll have to go take a look.
I haven't
Worst
checked.
case, I'll come cash in hand, and I'll camp out in the back row.
Yeah, anybody can come in and it's fine. I'm gonna try to get some models, and anyone can come cash in hand. I don't know how many classes. I do know that a lot of people are saying, I want everyone to know that just because you didn't get into Liz's class and you settled for me, I'm still pretty good. I will teach you well.
Oh wow, that's a brutal, self-depreciating statement, Mark. You are an amazing painter.
No, it's not. It's actually the truth from what people were talking online, because people were saying, "Oh, I couldn't get in this class, but I got in this class," and I'm like, "Well,
that's just because they don't know."
I'm
a good friend with Liz. I'm a good friend with Liz, and I have a lot of respect for her. She's a great painter, but so are you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm just letting anyone know who listens. If you did get in my class and it was a second choice, I will still teach you well. I promise.
I believe that to be the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Mark. I've never had anything but the highest regard for your ability.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm not just saying that because Joan told me I had to. It comes from deep down.
You never listen to me anyway. So.
Oh, I know.
Who's that guy again? Is that the guy with the 75mm?
Something about that. Yeah.
Oh. The guy with the awesome AQ Chibi.
Oh, okay, that guy. He's pretty cool. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, what happened to him? That's weird.
Leonidas.
Dude, I love that model. That model, all the models this year were awesome. There was a couple that were like, I didn't like the Atreyu guy. Is that who it was?
Yeah, it was Atreyu.
From the Neverending Story.
He was kind of boring looking.
He was boring.
I had
but
to paint it too, right? I was the one to paint him. It was kind of boring.
Paint job, good. Model, meh. Hellboy was awesome. I thought that was really cool. Little homage to the Hellboy and the Hellgirl. And then, but the one figure besides Leonidas where I was just like, okay, I have to have this. It was, I forget the name. I think it's Melee. It was a little kitty cat on the broom. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Was it Jen? It came after.
So
it was like the last one.
That was a special model at the end. Yeah, Jen painted it. I think
she did paint it too. But it was just, I love the model. I was like, okay, that's awesome. I really like that model. And I was like, that's cool. They were supposed to, and another one they were supposed to do in the Madsmore, they were supposed to have gnomes. Because they have a huge mix of races in the AQ universe. Like they have lizard men, pandas, like lion people. In Madsmore, the original game, they had gnomes. No gnomes. They took them out. They're gone.
And gnomes make the perfect chibis too. Like gnomes are practically chibis without being chibis.
Yeah.
You can't tell.
Yeah. Well, it's okay because Soda Pop picked up the slack and they are making the perfect gnomes. Like straight out of the garden. They're amazing looking. So, anyways.
I must have missed that. What is that?
They had, if you go on YouTube, you can look up their channel and they did a 3D sculpt of one. Because I think one of the not Inferno, God, I keep crossing my games. The Legends, there's a guy, one of the bosses, he comes with six gnomes. Like there's another giant owlbear and there's a dragon, like a zombie dragon that comes with like zombie kobolds. Well, one of the bosses is like a furnace guy and he comes with six like furnace gnomes.
Nice.
And they did if you look it up, you'll see them. They did a 3D sculpt, and it is amazing. Tiny body, huge head, giant beard, pointy hat with little goggles on it, giant hammer. He's awesome.
Just perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's gonna be amazing.
Okay, so we talked about Soda Pop, we talked about Arcadia Quest.
Yeah.
Who else out there makes chibi miniatures? And I know chibi, saying chibi miniatures can be kind of a loose definition as well.
Sure. Well, because there's anthropomorphic miniatures too that sort of count as chibi. So we can go with Patrick's company, Bombshell. They do Critterkins, and that's pretty chibi. You go with Red Panda.
Red Panda, as I say,
Heath Foley.
Yeah.
We already mentioned Cool Mini or Not. They not only have Arcadia Quest, they also have Rivet Wars, which are kind of chibi.
Good call. And that's another game that fell off the earth. I don't know. They were supposed to do all these cool things, and it never came back.
Yeah. I think after the Kickstarter, it just didn't do well.
The game is okay. It's not great. It can be hit or miss with the dice rolls and such. It's still cool. The models are awesome, I thought. I love the models.
Yeah, I've got one here. They are a lot of fun to paint.
I've got one here I have to paint for my wife. I've got the not Nick Fury.
Oh, okay.
I thought they just dropped the game because they made their money.
The guy was making other things. There's like Russians coming. They're riding bears, and he was sculpting all this stuff, and a lot of cool new models. And then next thing you know, no updates from him, and there's nothing. You can go into the Facebook page and see some of the models, and then it's just done. It's gone. So I don't know what happened. So, anyways, Reaper does their Bonesville, and they've got some pretty good ones. Impact, of course, does stuff.
Yeah, Impact is probably after
most prolific.
Yeah, the most prolific, right? Along with Soda Pop and Simon.
The
most prolific range is Impact, and probably the lowest cost.
Yes, it's a huge range. They've got all sorts of stuff, and the other thing is that. They're resin or type of resin, so you can do a lot of conversions with it. I highly recommend the certain Chaos Warrior that they have. It's pretty cool. And Midnight Heroes is a small company. They've got a couple.
Oh, I've forgotten about them. Yeah,
right.
Brian's got stuff.
That was the company that ran the Kickstarter. His wife was ill, right?
Yeah.
Right. And he did one dedicated to her, named after her. Cutie, I think it was called. Or Elizabeth.
With the scissors. His wife's a hairdresser. Yeah.
And then another
Scale 75 with their Smug Riders.
Yeah. It's weird. They have some of the coolest looking models, and the painter is absolutely amazing, and I don't like them. There's something about them.
The aesthetic. There's something about the style. Yeah.
Yes. It's like I painted one, and I liked it, but then after a while, the aesthetic was, it's like they're not chibi. They're like miniature humans.
They're deformed humans. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really weird. It was like I painted a couple of them, and I just stopped liking them. And I have a ton of them, and they're super expensive. But
yes,
like $25 a pop. It's like crazy.
I have one because they're too expensive for me.
They're a little expensive. Well, because you can get like a normal soda pop one is like anywhere from $12 to $15 depending on where you get it, and then like some of those 2-packs from AQ are like $14.99. So that's not too bad. I mean, it's not Games Workshop prices, but it's not so bad. $8.99 for the Reaper guys, for the metal ones. Another company is Meridian Miniatures. They did another anthropomorphic line. And
there's one you won't like, but the Rivals, Master of the Deep, if they ever come out.
Yeah, I kickstarted that, and I think we're out money, I'll be honest with you. Because after we kickstarted it, I think it's like 6 months later.
Even with the second Kickstarter?
They went to a second Kickstarter to make the board game into a miniature game, like on a tabletop. I'm like, hey, where's my game? I don't know what's happening with it. So, but yeah, Rivals has a really cool, look to them. I like them a lot. But I think I might be forgetting. Am I forgetting anyone else?
Crossmaster.
Yeah, but they're pre-painted.
Yeah, but they are repaintable, like any pre-painted stuff.
I have the first one and then the ice one, and then I got the quest one, and I've got some other ones, but I don't have like season 2. I have a ton of them, and we played, but by goodness, if you play with those characters, and let's just say they're all like level 3 stars, like that's their rating. If you get like a level 4 person, the power range jumps up too dramatically. You know what I mean? Like, so if you have like 3s across the board, because you have like a 12-point team, if you have 3s across the board, and so you have 4 characters, if you do 2 3s on the other team and one person's a 4 and you drop down the other person as a 2, the character that's a 4 is godly compared to the other ones. And if you give them like a 5 or a 6 on that team, they're almost unstoppable. So it's like the power creep on the star level, I just didn't like it that much. I thought it was a little too much.
That's in Crossmasters you're talking about?
That's in Crossmasters, yeah. It's crazy, like the stats on the characters. And I said, well, why don't we just play with only 3-star people now, to make it fair? Because if you play with only 3-star people and you do like a drafting, it's pretty fun game. It's pretty fair. It's not too. But once you start adding the power creep in there with the higher level characters at 5 stars, you just can't kill them.
It just slides stuff around.
Okay.
It breaks the game almost. Like, so in respect, it's like, okay, so a normal character might do like 2 points of damage, and he might have like 12 hit points. And his special 1 turn a game might do like 4 points of damage. Well, you'll go up against a character who's like 5 stars, and he'll have like close to 18 hit points, and he'll do like 4 points a turn when he hits you. You're like, okay, this is crazy. And like he might have a special that gives him, and he'll have like extra abilities like immune to cold or immune to some type of damage, and so you just can't hurt him. So, and I know there's ways around it, but it's just I feel like it breaks the game, just my opinion. But yeah, it's a good call. I didn't think about that because you could repaint them, but I don't know. I think that's it. I don't think there's really much. I don't think there's any other ones that I can think off the top of my head.
Well, if nothing else, we've covered the vast majority of what's out there.
Yeah.
There may be some outliers.
If you forgot anyone, they're going to feel really bad.
I think I've painted all of those except for the Red Panda ones, which I kickstarted. I have not got yet.
They are amazing models. I've got I've got 2 of them. I've got the kangaroo and the kangaroo dragoon, and I've got Roland, who is the actual red panda.
Okay.
And amazing
And
models.
I think the turtle.
Oh, the turtle.
I say that I find it funny that you still qualify them as chibi, but not the Scale 75? The Smog Riders? I mean, they look a lot more chibis, the Smog Riders.
They are, and I really don't consider the panda guys, the red panda guys, as chibi. They're anthropomorphic, which people associate with that.
Yeah,
but
because they're super cartoony, and chibi is also super cartoony.
Yeah, and they look anime-ish too. But
I think it's also
not chibi. Yeah.
It depends on how you define chibi, right? Because I think what we call chibi is actually what used to be called SD. Right?
Oh, super deformed?
Yeah. But chibi doesn't mean super deformed, right?
No.
Chibi just means, like, doesn't it just basically mean cute?
But
small, cute.
Can we agree that by now it's the claim word?
Well,
I mean, if you refer to chibi style in miniatures, people know what to expect and what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, if you want to use the wrong word for something, because chibi's a real word, right? It's not a term, it's an actual word. It's like if you call a car a horse, it's still a car. Doesn't matter if everyone says it's a horse, it's still a car, right? But I get what you're saying. Expectation is that when you say chibi, you think soda pop, right? You think that style of chibi, because that's how they coined them when they launched the product, which I understand.
I think Yam's right though. It is more, that would be more considered that style than the anthropomorphic. So even Critterkins, then, if you look at, they have a more realistic body feature. The Meridian guys, which are anthropomorphic, are definitely big head, small body. Like, they're definitely different. But as far as like Red Panda and Bombshells, when it comes to that, they're more anthropomorphic than Chibi. But for some reason, well, not for some reason, they still have bigger heads, but they are considered. I would put them in Chibi category. At least the Critterkins have a bigger head, I'd say.
Yeah, the Critterkins are more chibi-ish than the Red Panda one.
But as far as like Scale 75, yeah, they are what you would consider chibi. It's just for some reason I don't like them as much. I don't know why. And they're definitely cute. I like the look of them, and for Europe loves them. When they paint chibi, that's all they paint in Europe. So for some reason the body style on them, I don't know what it is.
For which models now? Sorry.
The Smog Riders.
Oh, yeah.
It's just preference, you know what I mean? It's just preference.
There's two others I think of. Undulem with the
special release chibis.
Endless, and they are planning others. So
if we're gonna throw that in there, then let's just give a nod to Mark Keenan, who's Velvet Mark, because he sculpted that one.
I was gonna point to him because he has a bunch of other chibis he self sculpted, and he's selling from himself. So not a store, but he has more available.
Yeah, and he does commission work too. Like, he did the Chaos Warrior for me, and he just did the Chaos Terminator, or not Chaos, the regular Terminator that I had him commission. Because I was like, okay, we need a sci-fi one. And I said, it'd be cool if you did like different weapons, different arms, different headdresses to make him Chaos. He put it all in there. It's all in there. So if you get one of those, you can get like Korn or Zinch, or I don't think there's Slaanesh, but he put all that extra stuff in there for me because I was just throwing out ideas. And he sculpted it. It's really cool. I should probably start working on those too.
Yeah, there are some neat chibi things from Velvet Mark.
Mm-hmm.
He did like a steampunk, not steampunk, cyberpunk style ones just recently for a commission someone wanted him to do. So, yeah, he does a good job. He's got their faces and the heads down really well.
He's got like a panda monk that looks really cool, very World of Warcraft-ish looking. But he's got a female knight that I'm seeing from earlier this year that looks awesome.
Yeah, she's got the little
the big lance. Like the jousting lance, yeah. That is a gorgeous model. I would love to get one of those.
He does a good job.
Wonder if these are things he sells, or if they're just...
there's another one we forgot.
David.
The Yokai Quest coming by Zenith.
So let's talk about that one.
Who?
Yokai Quest, they are the same guy who did Nemesis and Kensai. They're still in Kickstarter. They have something like a week left.
They have I think it's 6 days. I'm on the fence about getting it because I don't know if I'm gonna like it. Some of the models are cool, but then I'm like, if I'm gonna get a more of an Asian themed ninja stuff, I've already got it.
Yeah, you got Ninja Star.
And some of the models in there are 10 times better. But I also want to think there was Hunters. Hunters came out too. That was another one that was a Kickstarter, and they did these vampire and hunter style chibi figures.
Mm-hmm.
Kids love Tiger Games. That's who is the company. So I'm thinking they made some too. But yeah, Yokai Quest. I don't know if I should get it or not. Some of the models are cool, but then I'm like, I don't know. Who am I kidding? I'll probably kickstart it. I'm an addict.
Well, I think I looked at it with at €95. It's fairly pricey, I think. Well, at least for us over here in Canada.
Comes out to 101, I think it said, in US dollars. So, and then the new Arena is coming out from Soda Pop. I don't know why they're not doing a Kickstarter for it. It's just coming to release.
Yeah, but they're just repackaging, mostly repackaging stuff they already have, aren't they?
I don't know. I know you get a new model, you get the bunny girl.
Yeah, but I think the rest is existing models.
I don't know what else you get in the package at all. It was supposed to come out in the Meeples monthly, but I haven't picked up the magazine yet. So that's it's just strange that they're doing it straight to release, Well,
if it's mostly all production stuff, I guess they figure...
Oh, there's another one we're forgetting. Cartoon miniatures.
Oh, yes.
They do the Captain Davy you painted.
Good call. Yeah, I totally forgot about them. But not just that, they have...
they have some medieval knights and stuff
like that. The Templars, they're really cool looking. And for some reason, but they're big. You guys have to understand, those are big models. They're, I think the Captain Davy was, close to 50 millimeters. He's double the size of a chibi. Most people didn't understand how much. I'm he's a big model. And there's a ton of detail, a lot of texture, ton of detail. I'd highly recommend it to anybody. It was $17, and I think I paid $7 for shipping from Russia or St. Petersburg. So, highly recommend it though. The detail was fantastic, and they're coming out with more of them too. So, I like to paint more of them. I was hoping they would do more of the crew, the crazy crew on the Flying Dutchman. Mm-hmm. A shark head guy, or the guy who had the head that was shaped like a seashell, and he had a little crab coming out. I think those would be fantastic. But I wonder if they're skirting on the whole copyright thing. But then again, they're in Russia, so what do they care?
What's copyright in Russia?
We've seen worse in Russia.
But I was really happy that you actually started painting that based off, because I think you heard about it on our show.
Yes,
right on the news, and I think we even mentioned that you should check it out, and then you did, and you painted one. I was all super happy about that.
Well, I contacted the guy, and I'm like, I want to paint this mini. How do I get it? And he's like, and the reply back was something like, okay, sounds good. And that was it. And then a couple weeks later, it was okay, well, here you go. And he's like, it'll be this amount of money. And I'm like, well, can I PayPal you? And he's like, yes, PayPal. And so I PayPal'd him, and then it was nothing for a time, and next thing you know, it just arrived in the mail.
The language barrier, it is real.
So, and I was, I opened it up, and minimal cleanup. The mold lines were beautiful. There was nothing really there, just a little bit of cleanup, and then, oh my gosh, but the texture on it, it's textured, that's for sure. And that was when I went a little too pastel on, but that's okay.
So, it's textured. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing?
It's a different thing for me because I'm not used to it.
You can get too much of a good thing.
Let's just say the belt, his belt buckle, the buckle itself was filled with little divots and dents and, where it scuffs. So if you actually look at the paint job I did on it, I don't know if I showed it to you. I can link it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But the paint job alone on that, like you'll see all these little lines and such. That's not me. I did not put those in there. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't make the little black lines and then highlight underneath it. That's him.
Okay.
It's crazy.
I don't know if you noticed they actually made another pirate character. They have
I saw like a walrus. Yeah. But
he looks pretty cool.
Different,
but pretty cool.
I want them to make more of the actual crew guys from the Dunchmen.
Yeah.
Or maybe even like a skeleton guy, like Barbossa as a skeleton. That would be, or half skeleton. That would be really cool.
Yeah, they have Barbossa as like a regular guy, but not as a skeleton.
And then they have that girl. I don't know who that girl is supposed to be.
The Pirate Adelaide?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? We are kind of rambling at this point.
Yeah.
Not that that's a problem, because this is supposed to be a show you paint to. So,
no worries. What else you got for me?
I don't know. I think we pretty much covered everything. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, Mark?
Not offhand. I'll say we covered chibis and things like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, so let's actually, I guess what I can ask you about.
Sure.
Now you have, you've got a page for Max Paint, which is the name of your, I don't want to say it's is it a commission service? What is Max Paint?
No, it's not. It's just a place where I show off some of my work. I don't really do commissions. I paint for some companies sometimes for for product or for I'm painting for Soda Pop coming up to get me some miniatures for my classes. So it's like an even trade type thing.
Right.
I tried to get them to do a gnome riding a mechanical shark and name him, Max, but they said no. So,
but it's worth trying, because if you never try, you'll never know.
I tried. I thought that would be funny, but only a gnome riding a mechanical shark.
We should totally make a hashtag. Where's Max?
Yeah. But no, it's just a place I show off some of my work, and I try to make sure it's not too work in progress.
No.
Like I'll show work in progress to you guys and message it. Well, I apologize. I use Yam to probably too much. I'm like, okay, what about this? What about this? Not. So, but I show off more of the completed stuff, and then I'll post work in progress just on my personal page, but the completed stuff there. But I don't really do commissions, so I don't know. It's weird. If it's if I'm getting paid for it, I hate it.
I can understand that. I tried my hand at commission painting, and I still do a couple. I got a couple I'm working on right now, but generally speaking, I can't do it.
So
I don't enjoy it.
I'm painting Aramon or Aramon, however you pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so excited to paint him. I look forward to putting paint on the brush and getting my palette ready and just all the cool stuff. And I do it,
go ahead.
I was just saying I'm excited. I look forward to it, and I do not. As soon as I take on a commission for money, I get them. I'm excited to get the money. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make some money. I'm gonna do commission work, and then I get them on my hands, and I'm like, I hate this.
Is this stress or?
I'm like, I procrastinate. I don't want to do it. It's a total mental block. I can't stand it.
Okay.
But if I paint for non-money, I'm like, oh, that's okay. I can do this. So I do that every now and then. I don't know what it is, dude. If I could understand the what my brain is, that would be great.
Well, I will say that your Armand is coming along amazing.
Thanks.
He is looking so sharp. I think you posted just a picture of his head, didn't you?
Just his head, yeah. Because I was trying to do it. Now, here's a thing that's strange. I was posting a picture of his head, and then I've done a little bit more. I was doing some of his backpack, and I did some of his backpack. And the strange thing is I'm using the same color palette I used on the head, and the colors on his backpack totally different. And I was wondering
about that, so I did see the picture of the backpack.
And more whippy.
Because you sent it to me, But it looks very muted, almost rusty, not at all the same as the helmet.
And the weird thing is that I think I've spent just about as much time on certain parts of it than I did with the other part. I just think it's the background or the foreground. So with the other sides, I had the green and blue, and I think that had a whole lot to do with the way the gold looked. And this gold is next to the red, and it has a red feel to it. It's the same palette. There's nothing changed. Do you know what I mean? Like, my technique is not changed on it, so I don't know.
It's interesting because it looks so much darker. And even without the red, if I block the red out in the picture, I don't. It looks like the highlights aren't taken up as high on the.
I see what you're saying. Well, in certain parts, I didn't take it up that high. I did edge it, and I did do that. So, but so maybe I need to go a little bit higher with sort of the whitish in there.
I think it's a contrast thing. I think just because it's not as highly contrasted, it's tricking our eyes and making us think the palette's different.
Maybe, but it's the same colors. It's like a ruddy leather from Reaper, sunburst yellow, and white. And then I mix in the recesses. I take a P3 ink, and then that's it. That's pretty much, it's real simplistic color scheme. So I don't know.
It's funny how sometimes these things just happen, eh?
So it's not just the picture, it's really even for you when you have it in your hand.
Well, no, when I have it in my hand, it doesn't look that red. It doesn't, but I see it in the pictures too. I took pictures and I'm like, why does this look like it's almost coppery?
Yeah, it looks like very ruddy, very... And I just thought it was a contrast thing, like the highlights weren't pushed as far as therefore my eyes were interpreting it that way, right?
So...
Like the reflectivity of the metal doesn't seem to be the same.
Yeah.
Time to ask Aaron for more help.
Maybe. Well, here, I'll send you guys some more stuff.
This makes great radio, by the way, as we look at pictures that no one else can see.
I'm sorry. I assume you cut this all out.
Well,
don't
if you follow Max Paint...
Don't be sorry. Well, these photos aren't up on Max Paint. These are like sneak previews, yo.
Yeah, I haven't...
but by the time this episode is live, they will be able to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. So everyone listening can follow along.
Yeah.
And give me my input.
Looking at the front, it's interesting because even that doesn't look quite the same. The shoulder pad looks... and I can see that the right shoulder's not really done, I don't think. So let's look at the left shoulder pad.
The left shoulder pad's not even done. Like, I haven't even touched it.
I mean his left, not our left looking at the picture. I mean the model's left. That looks like that's been started, or possibly much farther along. The torso looks like it's going towards the color scheme that the helmet was in the other shot that I've seen.
So tell me about that shoulder pad then. If you look down at the bottom where the blue is, that color scheme looks pretty similar, but if you go towards the top, it looks red.
Yeah, it does look redder, but let's not forget that light reflects, right? So it's possible that it's just getting a reflected light from the red painted cloak above it.
Yeah.
And so it's tinting it a little bit. And it may just be your camera. Yeah,
well, it's a phone camera. I don't have a real camera. So I'm going to try to do a little bit more to it, because I know that the whole thing with the gold is that you have to make the contrast there to bring it up. And the majority of the time, if it's a larger area, you're going to have more of the darker colors, like the brown.
Yeah, to try to make it look more reflective, yeah.
So maybe that's the reason it's overpowering the gold, because on the helmet, I have all the edge highlighting and everything. So
the helmet is spot on, yeah. Like that helmet reads as gold. When I look at it, it reads to me as gold.
I'll have to do a little bit more work on it. So, but
even looking at the helmet now, there you can kind of see. I think it's your camera, because if you look at the helmet, if you look at the tip of not quite the tip of the horns, actually even the tip of the horns, you can see one of them looks much redder than the other.
Yeah,
and the shading there looks red, not brown. Now that I'm looking at it closely, I think it's just the way your camera is interpreting the color.
Well, the one on the left is supposed to be a little bit darker than the one on the right, because I was trying to have the light come on the right.
No, that's fine. But if you look at not the amount of shading, but the color of the shading,
yeah,
it appears to be a ruddy color, right?
Yeah.
It's got that little bit of red in it. So it might just be the way your camera's picking up the color.
But there's two different, here's one normal, and then here's one with a light behind it. So you can see the differences. It's, you know what I mean? Like, you look at this one, there's no light, and it's real dark looking, and then this is one in the light, and it's totally different. But it's my phone camera, so sorry, Internet.
I think I think it's just a limitation of the camera.
Very possibly.
I'd be interested to see if you put it on a black background.
Yeah.
Just to see what it would read as.
I was trying to do darken so that when the light would shine the reflective thing, it would be better, but maybe I need to get a little bit more darker color. I don't know, because I like the red in there. The red, the reddish brown.
Yeah, and that's fine. That makes sense because some golds do have a reddish tinge to them, right?
Yeah.
So that totally looks right. But I think the camera and the background behind the things is what's causing the problem. If I look at the picture you posted,
so look at the last two. Here's
the thing. If I look at the picture that you posted on your Facebook of the helmet, right? Everything else is really pushed back in terms of like the focus. Like the helmet is 100% in focus and everything else is out of focus. So your eyes really only look at the helmet.
Yeah.
And if I look at the photos you're sending us now, the one where it's on the countertop or whatever, the countertop's not as out of focus. So it like bleeds into like your eyes don't focus the same way.
Right. So the camera didn't focus the same way either.
Right. And the other one with the background, with the cabinets, I don't know if it's your kitchen cabinets or whatever it is in the background, those cabinets are also red. Yeah. So everything's kind of like reading all together. So you're losing the gold effect in that because I think of the background colors. So I think that the main thing is we're suffering from optical illusion combined with just the camera's limitations.
Yeah, I do know there's some red in there with the colors, but I just need to get some more lighter colors, or I need to get some white glazes in there to bring it up like I did with the horns. So we'll see. It's definitely a fun model so far.
Yeah, he's looking amazing. I just picked up a Prospero box, and there's an Army mount in there that I'm gonna get the opportunity to paint.
Yeah,
looking forward to that. Though I don't think I'll be doing non-metallic metals, as I'm a chump and can't do it to this level. And it'd just be embarrassing to do mine. I mean, look at yours and look at mine and look at yours. Like
it's not bad if you want to do metallics. I don't hold it yet. I just like that style now, and it's a tough one to pull off, and I don't necessarily always get it. But when I do hit it in certain, it looks cool. I do like it, and that's the reason. So, and going back to this, I don't know if you're going to keep any of this in here, but going back to that. If you're going back to that with the chibi style, I highly recommend non-metallics because it has a cartoony look to it, and most people are like, oh, I don't like the cartoony look. But for chibis, it makes sense.
Yes.
So you really want to try to, even if your non-metallic is nothing but just like a gray sword, I think that's better than doing metallics in certain ways because it has a more cartoony. Yes.
And even if not, like for me, I'm not really good at NMM. So it looks more cartoony, so it works when I do chibis.
I thought your non-metallic was really well done.
It wouldn't work on a 40K model.
Like, the whole point of it is to make it, like, how do I put this? You're trying to make your non-metallic look like you painted it non-metallic. If you make your non-metallic look like it's actually shining reflective light, like it's supposed to look like in real, like, you know how some of those amazing painters do it, then we're doing it wrong. And people are like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense because the whole point of non-metallic is to make it look like that. I said, not with chibis, though. Chibis, you want it to look like a cartoony look.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it. So, like, I forgot who did that giant axe. There was a guy who just won something in Europe, and it was this amazing miniature. It was a barbarian, and he had this axe, and the axe was, like, laying over it was horizontal. He did the axe in non-metallic, but it looks like it's shining. Like, it looks perfect. Like, it's real metal. And I'm like, you know what I'm talking about, though?
Tommy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I know the model. Was it Tommy Soul?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds right.
beautiful barbarian with like, awesome skin tones, and the axe alone, it was just perfect. And it was, I don't know what it was. I think it was just so spot on, but.
No, it was perfect.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that axe would not work for a chibi. Not at all. It'd be too much.
No.
So, but mind you, Drew does he does metallics, and he does a really good job, but he also shades and blends like you would for a non-metallic.
Yeah. Same way Matt Fontaine does, or,
So, it's just preference. It's really preference. I prefer that, but I like to pass the preference on to people and say, you should do that.
I think it really lends itself to chibi painting. Yes,
I agree.
And I kind of practiced my chibi-style NMM on my Fisherman for Guild Ball, because I felt that the style of those models seemed to work better with NMM than true metallic. But chibi, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. So, anyways.
All right. Well, we've been going at this for quite a while.
Yeah.
Time just...
My counter's reading 2 hours, but I mean, probably got like a 45 minutes of blah blah in there that we're going to take out.
Yeah, you should definitely take out the us just talking about my pictures and give me advice. I don't think that's going to be...
No,
it's
okay.
People like, what are they talking about?
That's okay, because it makes me sound like...
They don't have the pictures. So.
Yeah, but it makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about. It makes me sound like a competent painter, as opposed to me.
And Paul likes that.
Well, exactly.
You know what? I'll send you the pictures, and you can post them when you post the link, and then you can be like, "These are the ones we're talking about. Please comment." And then you have all the people like, "Yes, Paul, you're right. It's too red," and I can see the contrast with those 1980 style cabinets.
Hey, listen, I gotta take my kudos where I can.
No, I think you're right. It's just you know what? I'll post better pictures in the future, and I'll get some advice on it. But I think it's just, I'm trying to push that contrast, and if I go too middle of the road with the gold, it just doesn't work that way. Then it becomes too muddied and too pastel, like I happened with my other night. So maybe I need to get some like washes of like maybe a purple wash in there to like tone it down. Take the red out. I don't know.
But I don't know. But you kind of, I don't know if you want to take the red out, because the thing is, in natural light, like if it was really gold, right?
Yeah.
Not only would there'd be red tones in it possibly, but metals reflect what's around them, and you've got that whole red cloak under it, right?
Yeah.
So light shining down on the cloak would be reflecting back up in the gold, so you would have red tones in it.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it makes perfect sense.
Totally, yeah.
See, I told you I could sound like I knew what I was talking about. Just don't ask me to execute it. Theory, I can talk theory all day. Just don't ask me to execute anything.
Oh my god.
Paul will be the brain, and Mark will be the ends.
But it makes people laugh, because I get to these, like when I go to Adepticon, Rubicon, I'll get to these high level painting conversations with people, and I can't do anything what I'm talking about, but I understand, right?
No,
and you can explain. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
If you can help anybody further their painting with that, all power to you. Especially that's why I go to, if you can help me do this and you have points and tricks that you think I need to do, I will take it. I don't want that. We were talking about that before. We don't want the, it looks good. Kudos.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't want that.
Yeah, because it's not very helpful.
No, it's not helpful at all. I want you to be like, you miss a spot over here. Oh shit, I miss it. Oh, sorry. Family program.
It's okay. It's okay.
I can't help it. This is like the least amount of swearing I've done on a podcast in a while.
I know.
You have no class.
I know. America.
All right. Antoine, you've been quiet again, so either you're asleep or I don't know.
Well, it's late for you guys, isn't it?
I'm still there.
It's almost midnight.
Okay. Well, we should probably... Yeah, you're right. I think we should do this.
We should probably wrap up the show. Yeah. Antoine, is there anything you'd like to add?
Not especially. So I'll just ask what we ask normally. Anything you want to point people toward to follow you? Facebook, Twitter, anything like that?
No.
No, I don't want fans.
Wow, it's another spud. Captain Spud is the same way. Like, if people want to follow you, where do they go? I don't know. I never thought of that. Like, what?
Yeah, that's pretty much Bud.
I have my painting page, Max Paint, at Facebook. I don't really use Twitter. I'm not really good at it. And then Instagram, I sort of do it every now and then, but it's Max Painted at Instagram. And it's just a play on my last name. So someone's like, "Oh, you think you're the best?" I'm like, "It's just a play on words. It's a pun. It's supposed to be funny."
So
wow, you meet a lot of jerks apparently that take everything you say super serious.
That's another topic for another show.
None of time it was me. None of those time.
No, it's not. Well, you guys are artists, and I'm sorry to keep dragging this on. You guys are artists. You ever have people that are just mean? I mean, They're just like mean. Like there's no reason for it. Like they'll say just weird things, and you're like, "Is that a compliment?" I don't understand what was that.
Why do you think there is a Team Yom and Team Paul going right now?
Okay, good point.
We know that.
But I mean, like you get that kind of stuff, like people snipe you or make just comments or something, you know what I mean? So, I mean, it's just one of those things where I was talking about it before. It's like, I sort of just want to be like, okay, I just want to paint. And if you want to follow me and see some cool stuff, sure, go ahead. But like, sometimes it's just like, the negativity in some of the things is just overwhelming. So,
yeah, I think that's a big problem with the hobby. The negativity you have to get the negativity out of the hobby.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, negativity is one thing.
This hobby should be accepting more than anything else. You know, people paint all different levels. People
in both ways. Honest feedback with constructive criticism is good. People going, "I don't like that because I think this looks bad." Or I don't like chibis. I mean, stuff like that. That's
I don't like the color green. That's painted green, so I can't comment on it. Like,
right,
what?
That kind of stuff. So, anyways, okay, I'm done. Max Paint, Facebook.
That's good.
Awesome.
Not the paintball page either. The painter page.
And it is also on Twitter.
I am on Twitter. I have this amazing picture of myself as a little angel chibi. It was my pug because someone gave me crap about the other picture I had. I'm not going to name names. Yum.
No, I would never.
Yom is always on the tweeter.
Yeah, I see you guys on there. I retweet it every now and then, but I haven't posted anything in a bit. It's just
I don't use Twitter. I don't really use Facebook either. I'm kind of a bad social media guy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm stopping.
All good. Well then, Mark, I just want to thank you for taking the time to be on the show to talk to us a bit. It's cool. I haven't spoken to you like one-on-one in months and months, so it's pretty awesome. And I'm hoping we get to spend some time together at Adepticon.
Yeah, definitely. We'll hang out and we'll talk about how much Yom sucks.
Yeah, wow.
What?
That sounds like a perfect trip.
For not being there.
Yes,
for
exactly.
not being there. Yeah, exactly. No.
Exactly.
You were
Antoine
on Team Young, man.
Yo, I gave you a compliment
pass.
like 2 episodes ago. Right?
Maybe I put you on a 2-eye pedestal.
We're good for 2016.
Antoine gets a pass because he sculpts amazing onions.
And I get no pass for nothing? Damn.
No, you get a pass. I'm just kidding. I just would. It would be cool if you guys were there. It would be awesome. We go out to get some food or something.
Sure.
I wish I was there, but
you still have time.
Work.
You still have time.
Oh no, it's not the time.
That's not how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't actually told my wife I'm going yet. I kind of mentioned I wanted to go. Well, I mentioned I wanted to go, and she said something about having a 3-month-old at that point, and I was like, yeah.
And she said,
and then I kind of just I bought a ticket. Yeah, so we'll. I'll be there though. It's okay.
Okay, good.
I'll convince her. It's all good. And on that note, I guess we'll let our friend Mark go, and then we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back and wrap up the show. So we'll be right back, geeks. And we're back. I just want to, and we're going to wrap up here quickly, and I just want to take this moment to thank Mark Maxey once again for coming on the show. A lot of fun in real life. Looking forward to seeing him again at Adepticon. Always interesting to have him on the show. I hope to do it again. I say always interesting like we've done it before, but it's always interesting to talk to him. I hope to have him on the show again. So, Mark.
Well, I guess that Mocha is planning to return, so it would be bad showing from him to not return now.
Well, exactly. Actually, you know, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm going to be out of the picture for a bit. So right after this show airs, we're recording this in December. It's going to air in January. About this time, my wife is giving birth. Going to be awfully hard for me to record for a bit. So maybe you could have to do a show with Max or with Mark or Mocha filling in for me.
An alternate Anglo.
Yeah, or get Liz, I'm sure Liz Beckley and Jonathan would come on to do that too. We could do a bunch of alternate host shows where everyone, and then all the fans will decide they like everyone else better than me because that's probably what's going to happen. I'll get pushed out of my own show, and on second thought, maybe we won't do that.
You do the editing anyway, so you can make them look like crap if you want.
You know, Antoine, I like the way you think. It's no wonder you're my primary co-host. You're my kind of evil. All right, guys, do you have anything you'd like to add to the show before we sign off?
Nope.
Happy New Year.
That's true. Happy belated New Year to everyone.
Go to the gym. I don't know.
The New Year resolution. Yeah.
Paint more minis. Play more games.
That's the resolution every year, but it fails. My resolution this year is to actually get to play Yom on his birthday. So I'm still waiting for last year's game.
We'll make a game that lasts 2 days.
We could do that. We could find a way, I'm sure. And a space. Anyway. We're dragging this on. I think we should sign off. So, everyone, see you next time.
Bye. Bye, people.
Bye, geeks.
Thanks for listening to Geeks of the North. If you want to contact us, you can email us at geeksofthenorth@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/geeksofthenorth, or follow us on Twitter at geeksofthenorth. You can follow me, Paul, at prfilio, Antoine at Eltonio Berg, Steve at B_Steve, and if you really feel the need, I guess you can follow Yom. He's at Yomasta. Breaks and outro music by Ladrav. You can listen to them at ladrav.bandcamp.com. See you next time, geeks.
Thank you for checking out a United Geeks Network family member. If you enjoyed it and are looking for other online media with a geek culture slant, head over to UnitedGeeksNetwork.com, where you will find Almost Podcast, a fan-driven companion podcast for the Almost Human television show. The United Geeks Network. You can broadcast your geekiness at UnitedGeeksNetwork.com. Work.com. 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 Work.com.